It's happening again. Extra Life, the 24-hour gaming marathon where gamers across the world raise money for our local Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It feels good to do something we love to help kids, but it feels great to get closer through the magic of game. We enter as friends and leave as real-world heroes for sick kids everywhere. Sign up online. Extra Life. Play games. Heal kids.
Welcome to this fantastic, tricky triangle, Long Pond, Pennsylvania. And this, a staple of the IndyCar calendar. A track which has been ferocious, that has seen the loss of the legendary Justin Wilson. A track which has very nearly claimed Robert Wickens over the last week and a half. But today, it's time for the sim racers to take their challenge. European Majors goes to Pocono for 500 miles. And well, practice is all but over already. Hashtag do you mind Jake Sperry, Cam Walsh, grid up as follows. Dave Walsh will be up on the pole position then, with Eric Mickey, the oval specialist, in second position. Bombshell 2 and 3 with Kurt Crum in third. Marcus Niskanen starts this one from fourth with David H. Baker and Fernando Antoli fifth and sixth. Andres Silsan, Sergio Hernando 7th and 8th with Sylvain Maillot and Diego Jimenez rounding out 10. Alexander Kirsanov, Travis Henderson, Marco Penttinen, and then the championship leader, Pete Harrod, starting from 14th place. Timi Toika and Josh Wolf will be on row 8 with Andreas Robertson and Jared Morgan making his 50th start in Pac or in Majors history. Normally see him in the Pacific splits. Andrei Rajkovic with Jordi Ardid. Got lights of Cordell Cologne, Henri Brycecorn, Jan Bruni, Stuart Atkinson, Frank Oosterhouse, and Rika Leonhardt in 26th. Marcus Pappenbrock, the gentleman, John Roberts, Patrick Neese, and Matthias Hugel rounds out this 30-car grid for the 200 laps that we will be racing today. Track conditions, well, they are a doozy. It's 29 degrees in the air, but it's a scorching 44 degrees on the track with winds coming in from the southwest at 8 kilometers an hour. Cam, this is where I welcome you in. This is going to be a tough one today with the track conditions. Understeer going to be a huge factor at a track where you're hitting upwards of 360 kilometers an hour.
Absolutely. And hello, Jake, and hello, everyone. It's been a while. I think it hasn't been since, the Majors 24 that we did it, because I had to miss out at Spa. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be difficult. And the big thing for me is going to be car adjustments. Obviously that weight jacker as always, but, however you're dealing with traffic and however you're dealing with the air that comes off of the traffic around you, that is where things are going to get really tricky.
They are going to get tricky. It's also worth talking that it's Bombshell 2, 3, and 4 as things stand. So lights off on top of the iRacing first safety car. And in just a few moments' time, we will be getting ready to get going. One of the unique things about Pocono, it's not your traditional oval. Oh no, it's called the Tricky Triangle for a reason. Only 3 corners on this track instead of the traditional NASCAR or IndyCar 4 that you would typically find. But it's going to be one of those races where you need to go and race your very, very best over the course of 200 laps. This is not for the faint of hearted. Pace car dives down onto the lane. Early getaway from Dave Walsh. We are green at pretty Pocono, and already the jump made by Walsh as they file single file almost up towards David H. Baker, trying to get in on Sergio Hernando, and Hernando on that inside will be swamped by that big arcing outside line, which has worked well. A nice clean start from everyone through the opening corner.
Yeah, Kurt Crum tried to keep his nose down, but just wasn't there. Now here comes the power of the draft as they go through two. They're going to just bleed a little bit off the throttle and a little bit on. I don't even think anyone's going to dab on the brake, maybe a downshift, as Dave Walsh is going to be able to keep his little brake that he's got here. But I have a feeling Eric Mickey's going to be working his way, closing on in, and I'm just wondering what's going to happen between Kurt Crum and Marcus Niskanen. They're two teammates. These guys are always working together here, whether they're in tin-top stock cars or open-wheel machines, and we'll see what they can do here.
Well, we certainly will. Lap 2 already up into play as we're expecting 40-second lap times as they head through the opening corner once again, and one in the wall. That's Travis Henderson, and it's a caution instantly after lap 2. 4 have found themselves into the inside retaining wall. One fast repair, of course, but Travis Henderson, the big cause. An early caution looks to pay very quickly. It was Henderson trying to get past Diego Jimenez, and Jimenez just started to back off of it, and up on that high side there wasn't really enough room to go too wide. Everyone started splitting 6s and 7s. Josh Wolf getting involved, Pete Harrod, the championship leader, getting involved in that one as well, and that's not what the championship leader needs here at Pocono, is to use his fast repair cam after just 2 laps.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, that wipes out any sort of buffer that you might have. I mean, people are still not even really comfortable in the seats, as it were. Yeah, Travis Henderson, he tried to get along that outside, and for Diego, it started to wash out on him. He tried as much as he could. You could tell he was getting more and more on the steering wheel, and once the machine is started wiping out, it started to wipe out, and obviously once Henderson pulled alongside, I have a feeling maybe took a little bit of that side air off, and the car just started getting super tight, or maybe the rear started kicking. He tried to save it. Unfortunately, it involved a lot more than just those two. I know Pete Harrod was involved, Joshua Wolf was involved, and there was a couple of other cars also. Sylvian Maillard, certainly, as we were talking about, involved in that. For the most part, though, to be honest, I'm pretty not surprised, but I'm pretty happy that most people got through it clean.
And that's one of the things, actually, about turn 1 at Pocono. It's one of those difficult corners, and we saw how Robert Wickens had that awful accident, and we here at RaceSpotTV pay our best wishes to a speedy recovery for Robert Wickens, and, of course, to Robert Wickens' family as well. It's such a tough corner, turn number 1, because it's 360k. You're dropping about 60 kilometers an hour, and here today it's a hot track, so it's very likely to slide back up the track. And really, for Diego Jimenez, I think he also got caught out by the fact that he was stuck in the dirty air of the vehicle in front, wasn't able to carry as much speed as he would, say, out on his own. And you really need those opening 5 laps, 10 laps in a 200-lap race just to really adjust and get used to what the track is. You want to ease into it. A caution does none of that to help.
Yeah, and you start talking about, tire temperature and brake temperature and all that stuff like that. After that, this is seriously, Pocono Raceway has got to be, I think, the longest front stretch. I think it's, a mile long, just straight up, or something like that, or almost a mile long, maybe 700 yards. I mean, it is just a massive front stretch, so think of how much cooling your brakes and tires are going to do in that process, and then you got to just dump it into corner number 1, and then you've got no air on your front wing, which obviously isn't going to help, and the rear wing isn't going to do anything because it's a tiny little sliver of paper. But yeah, just unfortunate to see an incident this early on, and we're going to rack them all up, and everyone will go through pit lane, and we'll see what they can do.
Officially, 7 vehicles came down onto pit road. Jared Morgan on his 50th start, Cordell Cologne, Pete Harrod, Matthias Hubel, Joshua Wolf, Travis Henderson, and Jordi RD, the drivers who got involved in that lap 2 incident. But But Dave Walsh will be happily ticking off the laps, maybe just because it's a caution. Yes, it doesn't get you into the race early, but this is allowing drivers to save the fuel and save the tyres. And on this opening stint, when the tyres are going to be going off quicker than usual, Cam, and we're talking about that fuel being so precious in any IndyCar race, saving that little bit of fuel now pays massively towards the end of the race.
Yeah, most certainly. And then there's always kind of the opposite strategy to that, which is maximum attack, don't letting any pressure off. We saw that last night over at Gateway with the victor in that race, whom we won't name because we don't want to spoil it for you, because I didn't even realize it was an IndyCar race last night. But either way, I will say also shout out to what do we call that? The little number tower cam, I think, that had the number of laps left in the race. Whatever, we'll see if we can get that going.
Well, right, let's put this way. 24 Hours of Le Mans, we had clock cam, and we had cone cam. Are you saying, Cam, that we should have tower cam?
I'm just saying, yeah, see, there it is. And you can, apparently, you can at Pocono Raceway, and then there's how many laps, and it's cool. I like it.
Well, you like it.
Someone has the number 1 tires in racing. I didn't really look before we panned down enough, but
that much we can say. Lights off then on top of the iRacing first safety car. Pace behind Dave Walsh then, as we will go single file for all restarts after this. And this is where life's going to be a little bit more difficult for drivers trying to make those moves, because you can't overtake on the inside on a restart. You've got to go high side to go and make the moves happen. So sometimes, especially in the iRacing Indianapolis 500, you'd see drivers race right up at the very top, hoping to get away. I think Dave Walsh, the Club UK and I driver, I think he's going to go for the easier option here, which is to try and just make sure that he gets a jump and that he doesn't get overtaken towards turn number 1. Eric Mickey was leading the Majors Indianapolis 500 in the European split, but he was so cruelly robbed of it after an incident with Jason Plato. He will be looking to try and get himself his 3rd win on ovals this year. And that comes with the Charlotte 400, the World 600, and the Daytona 500, which he has already got victory so far. Pace car dives down in. Walsh goes early once again. And you can already see the gaps that start to form as drivers all up on that high side, hoping to get enough toe to make a run towards turn number 1, but nothing forthcoming from anybody as they strike turn 1 by the Busch sign, and doing a very good job of holding things too wide just in the back. Got Frank Oosterhuis trying to get past Andre Rajkovic, and Rajkovic doing a good job of holding on one vehicle very slow. That's Diego Jimenez coming out of turn number 1, and he just caught the apron slightly, so twice getting it wrong at 1 there, Cam.
Yeah, and again, it is so easy to do. If you're already unsettled and you're already not comfortable, it's so easy to do. And Frank Oosterhuis behind him, and as well as Andre Rajkovic. Rajkovic has got a little bit more speed than Jimenez. And I don't want to say I'm concerned for Diego. He's a very good pilot. He just needs to get himself settled. And you can already see the serpentine action going down the front stretch here, Jake. Cars going left and right, and it's so easy to try to snake up that these guys really dive their way through, and that's where you get trouble into 1.
Marco Pentinen's up high side. You've got Alexander Kirsanov down on the low side, and he keeps it too wide as they head to the passing corner of turn number 2. And while looking at Kirsanov, he lifts out of it heading to 2. He thought better of making a move and will just sit and play the easy game, the waiting game at this stage. No real battles too wide at the moment, but here's the charge from Henri Breikskorn here in the 837. He's looking to get past Marcus Pappenbrock in the 791, one of the legends of GT racing that we've seen over the years in iRacing circles. But Pappenbrock not really there at the moment. Middle of the pack to back of the pack, really starting to bunch up and trying to move forward.
Yeah, and really, he started in 27th. He's already up to 16th. Pappenbrock is, so not much in it. I have to say, probably just got all those positions after that massive incident that we had in the opening here at Pocono. But you know what, though? He's kind of got himself in a little bit of a bubble. That means he's going to be able to easily take the corners with no dirty air from Frank Oosterhuis. And then he will be able to get a little bit of a sniff going up through the draft.
Sorry, I've just had a look at Marcus Niskanen in 4th position. Twice he has run incredibly close to that outside wall through 2 and through 3. And if he's not careful, he might be in a little bit of trouble with damage because he's got 2nd in the championship. Fernando Anthony thinking about going through. And if you see a vehicle tag the wall slightly twice, Cam, you've got to be so worried if you're Fernando Anthony. You need to be safe and you need to be scoring some big points.
Yeah, and he did damage that right rear, I believe, from Niskanen. If we can get the camera on board, that 002, to maybe spin around on it and see if we can take a look at the right rear there. Perhaps it's not, perhaps it is. I think he damaged it. I could be wrong. No, it looks all right. But I mean, I will say there definitely was at the very least a Firehawk leaving some marks on that outside wall.
Well, there certainly was. Gap in front is up over a second now for Dave Walsh as he extends against Eric Mickey, but fantastic scrap with Oosterhuis, Reykjavik, Pappenbrock. You've got Diego Jimenez in the mix as well. Now look at this. Harrod trying to get up through the field as he's already moved his way back to 17th as he gets past Brycecorn, looking for the next one through the passing corner of turn 2. Pappenbrock going for the up and under. That's the beauty of a track like this. You can use the track so many different ways, and that's what Pappenbrock tried to do, but he doesn't have that run on the inside, or does he? Little wiggle from him, and that lost the air slightly. Here comes Pete Harrod, though, on the wide front stretch. He gets one. He's maybe looking for a second as well. Angles down to the inside, and this is why Pete Harrod is the championship leader. He makes moves like this.
Yeah, but he has to back out just a little bit. You don't want to strong your way into corner number 1. That's where trouble can start, as Jimenez got very, very close to that outside wall. Pete's just going to... what's going to happen here, he should brake a little bit early for corner number 2, and then he should get right back on it, as actually Jimenez looks like he did an amazing job coming through the tunnel turn, as it's called, because he managed to clear basically everybody there. By the time they got to 3, he's got no one around him.
Well, it seems that he got through the tunnel. He came out of it in a blaze of glory, but look how slow he is off of the exit of 3, because here comes Harrod, who is picking up his run fantastically. He's down to the inside, and he's looking to get a full car length here to get a complete run, and he manages it. So Pete Harrod takes 2 laps, but sometimes you need to take those 2 laps to make sure that the move is scored complete. Battle up further through the field right now is with David H. Baker chasing down Sergio Hernando. We've got Fernando Anthony there as well. This train starting to form up now behind Kurt Crum slightly. Niskanen half a second off of this one, but really it's just bunching together towards the front of this field. Anthony's just been playing that patience game, maybe even the fuel game at this stage. Don't want to make the move just yet, maybe just sit and wait. You can see just how late he made the turn for 1 and how he loses 0.2 of a second on entry, but will gain it all back on the exit. Look behind though, here comes David H. Baker, Grizzly Motorsports. They're fighting, of course, for the Constructors' Championship with Bombshell, who are in a fantastic position at the moment, and David H. Baker up and under at the tunnel. Beautiful work from Hernando.
Yeah, yeehaw for Hernando. I mean, that was dancing razor right there. I mean, the front wing of that number 15 was extraordinarily close to the 33 of David Baker. And if you're David Baker, you kind of got to pat yourself off and go, all right, well, we'll start right back again. And here we come down the extraordinarily long, the airport length, the front stretch here, and David gets off the throttle first, which means that Sergio should be able to have good power on the outside. This allowed Marco Penttinen to come in and insert himself into this little party.
And the moment you start going too wide at Pocono, you can see how they've lost Fernando Anthony by a good couple of seconds. Hernando holds on through tunnel corner, and now David H. Baker comes under pressure. Here's Penttinen moving down to the inside, looking for position 7 and taking position 7 very quickly. But look at Baker try and pick the pocket on the exit, and you've got to pick a pocket or 2, but he doesn't quite pick the pocket yet. It's going to be a delayed little bit of stealing, but no, not going to happen yet. David H. Baker starting to lose that ground, that steam that he had very early on. And let's talk about tyres for a moment, because we're almost about looking probably towards around halfway through a stint very soon, Cam.
I would say so, simply because, you would think you got, only 3 turns, it's 1 less turn, so mathematically the tires should be a little less worn. No, because the turns are so long, and they're so fast. I mean, we gotta understand, cars are not dipping below 200 mile an hour.
Sorry, that's Cordell Cologne, who is in the wall. He's desperately trying to keep it straight. He's back into the wall again, and he has done so well not to come back up onto the circuit. Still trying to find the escape road. Heavily damaged steering. Hats off to Cordell Cologne there to keep that a single car incident. We stay green at Pocono, but Cologne, a big one for Grizzly. They needed as much help as possible, just clipping the apron actually through tunnel and up into the outside wall, back into the inside wall cam, and does so well to keep it on the apron.
Yeah, also that last lap, John Roberts there ended up having something happen down the front stretch, and he will need to get his front and rear wings replaced, all just a solo incident. So yeah, good on Cordell Cologne. I noticed that perhaps he was having some technical issues a lap before, so maybe just that caught him out. Unfortunate for him, as David Baker's still continuing to fight against the 65 of Marco Penttinen. And, Baker's going to wisely back off here. And just to kind of finish up the point, yeah, I can't imagine we're going to be staying out for too much longer. I would say maybe 25 to 30 laps. That's going to be my guess.
Well, we shall see. David H. Baker through the tunnel, looking just about even through that run as they now make the look to turn number 3. The gap at the front, though, is starting to close down a little bit. It was up over a second and a half only about 5 laps ago. That gap has come down significantly, down to 9/10 of a second, something that is worth looking at. Dave Walsh has hit traffic, and he is getting dirty air from Henderson and Jared Morgan in front. Not only that, Cam, but Eric Mickey does like a setup that works well in the second half of a stint, and we are seeing it here.
Yeah, most certainly. Walsh moving down onto the inside here. They're going to go 2 wide through corner number 2. Not exactly a corner number 3, excuse me. That is corner number 2. See, I know my corners. Not exactly wise. He had to back off of that by a lot. Now Dave's going to back off. He knows what he needs to do. Now he's going to slingshot by as they come off of corner number 3. He's going to close onto the rear of Travis Henderson. If you're Henderson, I guess I can understand you maybe don't want to go a lap down in case there's a caution or anything like that. But at the same, maybe hoping that he's going to go pit soon. But at the same time, this is playing right into the hands of Eric Mickey.
And that's not what Henderson needs to do, because remember, Henderson's in that battle, Grizzly against Bombshell, so if he starts fighting with Dave Walsh, this is only going to allow Eric Mickey to have a great opportunity. Oh, he was into the back of him, and he's around again. It's Travis Henderson. He keeps it on the apron. Caution comes out. Number 2 of the day on lap 17.
Yeah, not quite sure what Henderson was looking for there. That's the leader of the race coming to lap you. I mean, sorry. He should have kind of just, once he was alongside, I would have backed out early, and that would be that. But you should know, obviously the corner coming into 2, anyone taking that inside line is going to need to come up. And unfortunate for Travis Henderson and unfortunate for Dave Walsh. I mean, if you're Dave Walsh, what do you got to do? You're the leader of the race. It's not saying, pull out a red carpet for me here, but I'm sure David at least appreciate not getting bumped into.
I certainly hope, but there's no damage visible for Dave Walsh. He'll be very happy about that. We are 20 laps in for your race leader, so sorry, that's my fault on that one, but 20 laps in, you're starting to think here, okay, now's probably the time to get fuel and tires.
Yeah, most certainly. I wouldn't see any reason not to. The tires are worn enough. You want to talk about fallout over the fall off is a game. Fall off over the race. I mean, lap 7 for Dave was a 42.7. He was running 42, 42, 42, 42. Now he's running 43s, kind of that left side, so he almost lost a second over that. So I would imagine. You can see the 842 of Dave Walsh, Eric Mickey, and the number 4, and all the rest of the crew looking to come on in and get some fresh new Firestone tires and some whatever the heck racing fuel.
Oh yes, as they head their way through turn 3. Now, well, we should be seeing the pit stop cycle happening right about now. You sort of, with a medium-length stint run, you sort of see the tyres dropping off. I think it's high time that you get some fresh rubber out and go. Some say you pit as often as you can, and look at that, everyone angling their way down onto pit road. Does anybody decide that they want to stay out of the lane? The answer to that one is an affirmative no. Everybody wants to come down in and make the big stop. So we'll see where everyone's files out after this one. We'll keep an eye on the 842. We'll have the last box. The penultimate box will be Eric Mickey's. Will anybody overshoot as they hit their marks? And oh, yes, there will be, because Dave Walsh has overshot by a good half a tyre, if not a full tyre length. So that's going to cost him in terms of his time. And you can see he loses the race lead because of that. And it's a race off the pit road for everyone else. He gets second. But oh my goodness there, Cam. Not what was wanted. Mickey now has the lead.
No, that's a full mistake on Walsh right there. I mean, nothing else you can really say. You know, it's the last pit box. You got nobody in front of you. You got nobody around you. You're the car that's leading in. That was all on him, unfortunate. And for Eric Mickey, I would expect Eric Mickey to be able to pull away just as Dave Walsh did from him, just because that car is dominant. We saw they were here in IndyCar, 1 week ago, essentially. And you could see just the leading car was able to just pull away in that dirty air, and I wouldn't be too surprised if Eric Mickey doesn't do that exact same thing. I believe towards the at the very end of that race, it was the eventual race winner Rossi, I believe, who I think he lapped all the way up to P5, was all one lap down on pace. So whoever that lead car is typically is going to be in the prime position, so won't be too surprised if we don't see that 842 Dave Walsh trying to do something here on the restart.
We're going to step aside very briefly here on RaceSpotTV. We'll be back with more after this. Mickey got the jump in the stops, but on lap 22, start of lap 23, pace car comes back down in, green flag, waiting a long time for it, and Walsh is going to go to the inside. Mickey tried to catch him out, but it's not worked out. Here comes Walsh down to the inside at turn number 1, and they're going to be nose to tail, trying to pinch him down the line. Mickey doing fantastically. It starts checking up behind as well. Penton loses out, as now it's a mad scramble here, Cam, as we're back with green flag action.
Yeah, and Alexander Kursanov having a great restart here. He has already jumped a couple positions in that 901 machine. He's looking to get another one here on Marcus Niskanen, perhaps, as side-by-side as Timu Toika and Sergio Hernando, as they're going to sort themselves out, as there goes Kursanov perhaps leaning the outside line, but Niskanen is always going to come on up on the exit of corner number 2, so, or corner number 3, so we got a good green flag running here as the Serpentine's already starting.
Yeah, the serpentine in full effect, and here is Kirsanov going high on Niskanen, and high has been the way to go so far, but he washes out. He's got no rubber to work with, and just like that, back into play comes Marcus Niskanen, and that's where you need to be a little bit more precise. David H. Baker now looks at Tasnauki. Timu Toika trying to get around him, and he's going to get down the inside, but look at in front, because it's a big check up there as we go 3 wide towards turn number 3, and that there was not good for Niskanen. 2 positions lost. It may turn back to 1 with a good run through turn 3, and it does as well. Very well played there by Kirsanov.
Yeah, most certainly. And here comes David H. Baker and Timu Toika. They're going to look down here as I've been looking up here to see where the lead differentials are. And it seems to me that Mickey's got a pretty decent protection over the car of Dave Walsh. Walsh was able to close up through like the last 2 corners, and then it always seems down the exit of 1, Mickey is able to pull away. So while that is going on, there's basically that massive scratch we're talking about from about 6th position all the way back down to 13th.
And a big check up there just for Sergio Hernando, as that, I believe, would be David H. Baker getting a little bit out of it at turn 2 at the tunnel, and that's allowing Andres Silsans now to form a different train. Now you're starting to see the draft come into play, because Kirsanov has gained a 10th and a 2/3 over Penton on that last lap, and that's effectively the leading train if it wasn't for the fact that Walsh and Mickey are now breaking away from Kurt Crum in 3rd. Anthony's got to start thinking about making moves if he's got the base. Here's Toika once more though on David H. Baker. It's the battle in the lower positions, and Pete Harrod's back again. He's looking to get past Silsans. He does. Oosterhouse is next.
Yeah, and this basically from 7th on forward, they have managed to get a massive break as, yeah, Oosterhouse looking just a little bit to the left. He's not going to be able to get anything on Baker this time by. But just looking back to that front, Eric Mickey has got a massive old gap between him and Dave Walsh. And Dave Walsh has got a colossal gap over Kurt Crum in 3rd position. So that early fighting has really cost these guys, as these guys, the mile an hour, are comfortably staying over 200. I think they dipped down to like maybe 198 through quarter number 1, Jake. But, you know, I don't think these guys are noticing that much with how much action these guys are dealing with out on the track.
Well, they certainly do have a lot of action, and they want to be out there just getting some clean laps in. Big train now formed from 8th place backwards. It stems all the way to John Roberts, who is multiple laps down, and Jarrow Morgan. So got likes of Andrei Rajkovic, who's starting to just fall off of Andreas Robertson. But look at this. Here's Sylvain Maillot trying to get past Diego Jimenez. Jimenez, who has gone straight backwards in this event so far. But Maillot, who was involved in that lap 2 incident, gets okay, but doesn't make the move. So patience, my dear boy. Have time yet, as now Niskanen looks to dive down on Kirsanov. So Kirsanov maybe not as safe as he thought he was through the tunnel. Big run.
Yeah, and Niskanen there, not comfortable on that downside. I think he almost clipped the apron and washed back up the track. So good save in a way from Marcus Niskanen. As Kirsanov there, he was able to get a decent exit. Now he did end up having not have a great exit on the corner number 3. He's now going to give Marcus Niskanen that draft, and he should close up just a little bit, but not enough. And here comes the rest of the field. Sergio Hernando, Timu Toika, David H. Baker, and the rest coming on through. And it seems that me and Jake, everyone is smartly, comfortably staying in line.
They are. We've just seen Josh Wolf get past Jan Bruni as well. That one for the 20th position. So a nice little change then as the middle of the pack starting to just battle it out a little bit at the front. Dave Walsh has lost a lot of time actually over this lap, and I was just keeping an eye out on how close he was, and it was all through turn number 2 at the tunnel. And just looking at what he was trying to do, he was down into the corner nicely, but he starts washing incredibly early. I think he almost tapped the wall.
Yeah, and if he did, I mean, it was just the scantest of glances. And that it mostly is just going to unsettle you. That's kind of the big thing. You don't want to get yourself out of that rhythm. These guys have had a good 5 or 10 laps. So it'll be good if these guys can continue that run. We almost had, I would say, halfway through a green flag run the last time. Let's see if they can get these this stint full.
Pete Harron cannot get past Frank Oosterhouse, and he's been looking and looking and looking, and it's not been quite there. Behind that, though, Mayo has made it, or still can't make his way through Diego Jimenez as Reykjavik starts to get back to Andreas Robertson in for 14th position, but once more Pete Harron looks down to the inside of Oosterhouse. This one going to be a tough move to get as he starts working his way up the track, has to get out of it because Oosterhouse is still there, and Oosterhouse takes advantage of that fact and holds the position for the time being. Crucial in terms of what the pair of them want to do in this run. Your top 5 as things stands: Mickey, Walsh, Crum, Antley and Penttinen as things stand, with Kirsanov and Niskanen desperately trying to stay with the 65, and Marco Penttinen a second behind as things stand on timings. Well, now 1.3 seconds, really losing out in the long game, and that's not going to be useful. Here, though, is the issue because Sylvain Maillot wants to get in on the play, looking down to the inside once more. Now the train starts stacking up a little bit further back from 17th onwards, and Jimenez starts clipping the apron slightly. Here's Josh Wolf, angles for 1, angles for 2, 3 wide towards the chutes, never good, not much room, contact, holds it together. Oh, you're lucky, lucky boys, you should not have survived that. Contact at over 320 kilometers an hour, and they keep it all together. Oh my word. That's something brave, that was something bold, but for the moment, it's all good. Jimenez now under pressure from Matthias Hubel. Hubel looking down to the inside, hoping to make the move. Jan Bruni trying to get in on it as well, not quite finding. Oh my goodness, Cam, we almost had a big one. Well, Cam, for the moment, I believe is a little bit disposed, but my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we had a massive, massive moment. Look again at a chance for Hubel. That's not going to work, and he's going to have to play that waiting game just a little more. But at the front, that gap is starting to come back again into Dave Walsh's favour. The gap had opened up to 0.8 of a second. Now it's down a shade under 7, so Walsh is finding some consistency, bringing himself back into the fray. So Eric Mickey does have to be careful here that he doesn't lose out in the long run. Here's David H. Baker, though, who's been a little bit desperate to make moves in the early goings here of this race, and he's got himself Sergio Hernando looking to try and get a move, or to defend a move and stay with Timu Toika. Toika, of course, has his own win in the Copper Classic, so he's been in a very good position, but Oosterhouse waiting behind. David H. Baker still playing that waiting game, unable to go and make the moves that he wants to, as Bryce Score now is losing positions to John Roberts, who's got himself back onto the leading lap, so that's good work from Gentleman John. But of course, positions being lost so early in this event, it means that you've got maybe a lot of time to get them back, but with every passing lap, let's get the bingo card out. A football field a second, so tough to close it back down. David H. Baker, though, at the inside of the tunnel, gets a little bit on the apron and doesn't quite carry the momentum to go and make the move happen. So we're seeing maybe a few desperation plays going to try and get through, but Cam, just a few laps ago, contact at 320 and they kept it in a straight line.
Yeah, I heard the voice go up, so I figured something dramatic must have happened. But either way, it seems to me that everyone seems to have gotten themselves played out fairly well, and we have stayed green. So, I mean, hey, thumbs up.
Thumbs up indeed. Stuart Atkinson, though, battled towards the rear of the pack then in the 944. He's got Enrico Leonhardt trying to make a play through. Behind that, you've got Jared Morgan, who's a lap down, and Gentleman John Roberts. So Leonhardt, who has been at the back of most fields, hasn't really found a way through. You can see just the contrasting lines there. Atkinson had 2 wheels on the apron trying to go through the tunnel.
Yeah, and the some tracks you can really touch that apron. This track, no. I would suggest not. It is very easy to get yourself in trouble, as here comes on the inside Enrico Leonhardt, as Leonhardt at 541 will get the good run on the inside, conceding is Stuart Atkinson with the intent to come back on the exit of 1, which he does for the most part. No, Leonhardt is going to be able to keep it out there, and I think that's because these tires are starting to go.
They are starting to maybe slightly go. They have been running a good maybe 15 laps on these tyres so far in this stint. So Atkinson makes his way back through. Jambroni, though, getting a move on Matthias Hubel. Not quite in through 3. And on that inside, it is tough here to make moves on the inside. This is what you'd have to class as a highline circuit, Cam.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, with how wide these corners are, you got to enter as high as you can, dive down as low as you can, then dive back up high again. With how wide this track is, that can actually catch you out because you spend more time traversing than cornering, which can slow you down. You end up wasting time thinking that you're quick. As Stuart Atkinson has pulled a little bit away from Enrico, but Jared Morgan now, he wants to get some of this action, but he doesn't seem to have the speed. I think these cars are now starting to drive it. They're starting to tighten up a little bit here. I don't know if perhaps it's getting a little bit warmer out there. I mean, it is still 84 and 115, and the weather's constant, so I am correct on that one. But for the most part, I think it's just these cars are starting to fall away just a bit.
They are starting to fall away, and of course we talk about the heat of the track. Here's David H. Baker once more, though, trying to get in on Sergio Hernando. Hernando has just played the car perfectly. He knows that David H. Baker has been searching for moves. He lets him have the prod, have the attack, but it doesn't come up to anything at the moment for David H. Baker, and I think he's hoping for a green flag stop here so that he has maybe half a semblance of making a move. Another good run coming out of 3. Again, he will look down to the inside to try and make this happen, but decides, no, I'm going to back out of it here because I wasn't fully alongside and I'd scrub off too much speed if I needed it.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I'm seeing from Sergio, he's doing a lot more shifting. He's up to 5th, he's up to 6th now, just entering the corner. No, he stays in 5th for corner number 2, but I think perhaps he's doing a bit more gear shifting than the other cars, which means that people are catching up on him on the exit the corners, but then towards the end of the straight, he kicks it up that gear and he's able to kind of hold off the cars behind him. So perhaps a little bit different opinion of the gearing between the two cars, and that might be what's causing it.
Atkinson is down on pit road. He came in of his own power, but contact with the wall out of 2, enough to say, I need to come down in and I need to make a stop. So just keep an eye on that one then, as he will look to probably rejoin out on circuit very, very soon. But for right now, at least, Eric Mickey has had the lead since the drop of that green flag after the last caution. That gap has remained at around 7-8 tenths of a second. It's gained on that last lap, and on this lap by, it's now up to 9 tenths of a second. That consistency value of Walsh starting to fall away once more, as we have seen. Off of pit road will come John Roberts, who has dived down in, so keep an eye on that as well as he looks to get himself going. Andreas Robertson, though, under pressure. Here's Marcus Pappenbrock trying to get through.
Yeah, Pappenbrock, he's been trying on and off for basically the entirety of this race to move himself up positions. Not really able to close in on that purple and gold 333 machine, which is emblazoned with coffee mugs, or maybe they're tea mugs, I'm not sure. Yeah, for Pappenbrock, I think it's getting to that point where people are able to draft up to the rear, but then as soon as they get into the corners, they start just winding out just a little bit. That dirty air, taking the air off of that front nose, is just enough to start the car driving up the track, and you got to start getting out of it. Otherwise, you might risk having a snap spin.
And at what point do you start looking then, Cam, towards the in-car tools available?
Well, I mean, we do have the weight jacker, and really, I'm not sure how agile, as it were, the weight jacker is. I know here at Indy, instead of here at Pocono, you can adjust that thing maybe once or twice a lap, and it be considered fairly normal and standard procedure. Here at Pocono, I really don't know how the weight jacker goes. I can honestly say I have not raced an Indy car, a Dallara IR18 here at Pocono. It's just, for me, one of those situations where, with how wide these corners are and how long they are, I think it's more of a long-term stink tool rather than an aggressive tool that you could use, say, at Indianapolis to get the edge every corner.
Called out Cologne is risking things again because he's just clipped the wall on the front stretch, just trying to take as much track as possible, and he's taking a few liberties. He had to get right out of it. You can see he's out of it on the exit of one. Here's honorary Bryce-Scorn going through. John Roberts, who's a lap down, has made a stop looking to get going as well, but there you can see Bryce-Scorn through too. Cologne trying to fight at every stage of the way, and he's not going to get himself much to fight with. Bryce-Scorn moves up a place.
Yeah, and I thought perhaps Cordell was going to nip the rear of that 837. Seems to be a thing that's easy to do for these Grizzly cars. Just they might seem to be able to close in there, but thankfully that's not what happened. And for John Roberts, I think he respectfully backed out of that one. He said, you know what, I could, but I'm not going to. I'm a lap down. I don't want to be the cause of the caution, as here he'll come to the inside. Those new tires will eventually get him by, and I think that's why he's being patient.
Yeah, and that patience is going to be rewarding time after time after time, as starting to see also Fernando Ansley really dropping back from Kurt Crum. He was within half a second, now the gap up to 1.4, and not only that, it's a second back to Marco Penttinen. So Ansley in a little bit of trouble here if he's not too careful. Here's Marcus Niskanen, though, getting a fantastic run out of one, looking to get past Kursanov. This is the charge that has completely and utterly stalled because Timu Toika is still within 1.3 seconds of this group. Niskanen makes his way through, but Kursanov wants straight back.
Yeah, and he almost had a nip in the butt there. He almost had it again going in through corner number 3, as it's so easy to overdrive your entry point because you're going just a couple of mile an hour faster, courtesy of that draft, and then you have a little bit less air on the front wing, which is a large driving proponent for these newer IR18s. They really depend a lot on that cleaner air to really force its way over and through into the air ports on either side and into the more efficiently into the bottom for that ground effect, rather than depending on perhaps the rear wing like we saw with the DW12. But either way, it's interesting to see this little battle continuing between Kursanov and Niskanen, where Kursanov, he's now backed off. He's now, I almost wondered perhaps he's gone, you know what, you got the position, I'll concede that to you, and I wonder if he's just getting ready to come into pit lane, because if there's one thing I can imagine you don't want to go into pit lane is surrounded by traffic.
Exactly. We've seen Andreas Robertson lose the position to Marcus Papenbrock as well, so Papenbrock has gained a good little move there, and that's exactly what he wanted. The leaders, though, have stayed within a second of each other, and that's not what Eric Mickey wants, because then it becomes a game cam. He who dives down onto pit lane first gets themselves some fantastic fresh rubber, and we're talking about times they're running at the moment. They are running the mid to late 43s. You talk about where they were at the beginning of their stints. They were running a good second a lap quicker. 42.8, the fastest lap today for Eric Mickey.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of looking here at the difference. I think it just kind of still comes to play because the distance between Eric Mickey and Dave Walsh is just as much as it was when Dave Walsh was leading over Eric Mickey. So it's interesting to see here how these two cars are going, and that means that I think if there's one thing that we can telegraph as we click off 1/4 distance, Jake, is that whoever has the better pit stop and whoever has that lead position on a potential restart, it most certainly does have the chance to pull away. I mean, it's almost going to be telling here, as we do have a couple of cars coming in down into pit lane.
Henri Bryce-Scorn is one of them. So the green flag pit stop window has opened here at Pocono. Let's keep an eye on this then, as drivers will be thinking about, okay, when do I come down in? And Andres Silsand will be one of the first to dive down and choose to make that stop. So for Andres, it's a bold call going early when it comes to this sort of strategy. And of course, the last thing anybody wants to see is a caution come out during a green flag cycle.
Yeah, most certainly. It just kind of ruins everything. But if it does come out and you're already out as André Slisons will decide to skirch right on by his team. They kind of look back at him as he reverses back down. Now they let him off the jacks after they change out those tires. He's off and away at the 292. That does not help you as that Team Latvia machine gets out and away. You do have to take the entry road there, the little apron. You can't just rejoin onto the track surface. But I think for me, if the caution were to come out now, he would at least be able to get his lap back by doing the wave by rather than even coming down pit.
Exactly. Marco Penttinen is on the lane, and that's going to be vital then for him. He's come in from 5th position. He's looking for the uber undercut at this stage, and a second a lap every single lap's going to be good. Dave Walsh high through 3 and almost into the wall. Second time we've seen him have a moment over this stint. You've got to be cautious when you get into this sort of stage, because he almost nearly threw away his race at 1/4 distance.
Yeah, most certainly, and you know, sure, of course, you do have that quick repair, but if you know, you're crashed down to the inside barrier, you know, the caution flag doesn't come out, you don't intentionally bring out the caution. There's only a person whom I would flick my fingers at and you know, wiggle the finger at. You know, you'd have to deal with going through the entire field. So you obviously don't want to even bother risking with all of that, and the best way to do that is by keeping the car at least somewhat safe. I think it's at this point as...
Kirsanov's in trouble, trying to bring it onto pit road. There's damage, and he's clipped the wall through the tunnel, and he's done well to keep it straight. So Kirsanov gets high, he's in the wall. He's done very well to bring that onto pit road, but you can see he is trying everything. Eric Mickey then dives in from the race lead as well. It's all kicking off.
And I believe that Kirsanov has damaged that right side suspension. I wouldn't be too surprised if he's not stuck on pit road for either A while, or B, if he is going to be basically in handicap mode. He's probably going to just take the quick repair that he has as Jean Brony has come into pit lane here. Here comes Dave Walsh. So here we go. Kirsanov is out, Brony is out, Dave Walsh is out. Eric Mickey, where has he come off to?
Well, Eric Mickey came in that lap prior, and he's making his way now through 1 towards 2. So we'll see how much of an advantage there is. Dave Walsh still looking to try and find his marker. He overshot the last time he was in. Is he a lot more safer this time? No, he's not. He has to just half reverse slightly to get back into his box. So Dave Walsh, again, just struggling with that transfer from asphalt to concrete. Gets himself going. Where, though, in the thick and thin of all of this is going to be Eric Mickey? The answer is making his way now out, up on the high side is Dave Walsh, and this is going to check it all up. And look at this. Dave Walsh is just, and I mean just, ahead.
But Eric Mickey's got those warmer tires. I wouldn't be too surprised if he's able to blow on by Dave Walsh on the outside, or is he going to try the over? Oh, actually, he mistimed that. If he timed it a little bit better, he could have gotten the overshoot, the over and under done very well. But Dave Walsh was able to kind of parked it right in the middle of the corner, and he's now out and away. So Dave Walsh is now going to be returning to your leader, and Eric Mickey, you got to wonder if he's kicking himself for coming in that lap early.
Fernando Antoli down on the lane now, and he went the longest of anybody. That was conjoined with the likes of Hernando, Mayo, and also coming out of pit road, Oosterhuis as well. So Antoli comes out behind Penttinen, behind Kurt Krum by a fair old margin, but he's got a big, big gap to the likes of Silsans and Kirsanov, which is vital at this stage. So right now Dave Walsh has the lead and is starting to pull away. Battle for third though is on. Kurt Krum versus Marco Penttinen, but Penttinen will have the older tyres and he will be falling back then after this green flag run.
Yeah, most certainly, and for a driver like Kurt Krum as well, and Marco Penttinen. Penttinen came in a couple of laps earlier than Kurt Krum, and he wasn't even really able to get the jump on him at all. So for just kind of looking around, as everything is getting all sorts of thrown around, as here comes Diego Jimenez as he pulls in. He overshoots as well. It's so easy to do. I kind of noticed these cars have been tiptoeing their way into pit lane here, as it almost, in a way, as David Baker, now your current leader, who most certainly will be losing that lead, is coming in as well. So I almost believe, Jake, we had basically everybody in by now, except for maybe 3 or 4 cars.
Well, that's everyone in now because Pete Harrod has hit the lane. So everybody is in, and the race lead will go back then to Dave Walsh in the 8.42, which is going to be good for him as he looks to extend his gap. We've had a clean green flag stop then here at Pocono, lap 55 of 200 here from Pennsylvania. So that's going to be something just to keep an eye on for the moment. Let's go on board, though, with this fantastic battle that we got up through the field. We've got Sergio Hernando on the rear of a group battle with Silsans, Toika, and Kirsanov. Let's take it on board, then, with Teemu Toika. We'll take you RaceSpotTV fan immersion. Well, there we see Teemu Toika and the work that he has been able to put in, but there is a fantastic scrap going on just behind that at the moment. But we've also just had a look, and Cam, you know, we've been keeping an eye on Dave Walsh and everything that he's been trying to do. He's just lost the lead, and he's lost the lead in a big, big way.
Yeah, most certainly. I don't know if Dave Walsh is
lost
the lead per se. Yeah, he's nipped the wall on the exit of corner number 3. He came out so wide, the car actually did that little skit thing where it kind of skits just a little bit when it just brushes that outside wall.
Caution!
Yellow flag is out, and we'll see if we can find out from who. That is Cordell Cologne for a second time.
Oh, no, and Cordell Cologne has not been having a good day. He had dropped a couple of positions, but here he was trying to get back underneath Frank Oosterhuis. And Oosterhuis, I have to be clear here, Cologne has come from a long way back trying to make that. Oosterhuis was low, and it was just Oosterhuis holding his line quite low, I have to say, but there was room for Cologne, but Cologne really moving back up the circuit due to his trajectory. Oh, that feels like a racing incident to me there, Cam.
I mean, a little too far back for me from Cordell Cologne to even risk it, and Oosterhuis had to back off just a little bit on the entrance to the corner because he was so close to Marcus Niskanen. Niskanen got a little, you could see from Niskanen moving, just how quick Niskanen was able to take the turn and how Oosterhuis was not able to. That is mostly just because of the arrow on the body, and once the arrow starts catching up, he's finally able to take the corner, and Oosterhuis, I don't even think, was really looking for Cordell Cologne to interject into the battle he was finding himself in.
He certainly was finding himself in lap 63 of 200 here at Pocono. Looking at almost an hour's worth of racing being run at this stage, and well, here at the 1/3 distance mark, we have gone and hit ourselves on another caution, the third one of the day. We had 2 quick fire cautions that time, though. A very good run, a good 40-lap stint as things stand, and well, it's time to think about who's coming down onto the lane, and we got a few who's going to stay out and a few who are going to come in. So split strategy, but the biggest call is get yourself in and get some tires. 3 have stayed out, Cam.
Yeah, that is going to be Kurt Crum, the car of Patrick Neese, and David Baker. So front-running cars that are going to be staying out. Patrick Neese isn't. He's back in 26, 1 lap down, so he's going to get a lap back. Dave Walsh has pulled into his pit stall without any calamity this time, though I will say he did have a slower entry than Mickey, and here comes Mickey as, nope, he's not going to get it this time as Dave Walsh continues to keep his quote lead. He doesn't have the actual lead, it's just the quote lead because, well, they're going to have a couple of cars on some older tires ahead of them.
Oh, and I tell you what's so telling, Andres Silsan's trying to get up to pace off pit road and struggling to as well, is that Fernando Antoli, who was right on the rear of Marco Penton, and he has had a shocking stop because he lost the position to Alexander Kirsanov, and he very nearly lost it to Toyka as well.
Yeah, and it's so easy to make these little mistakes or little time-costing situations here. You know, they try to get these pit stops, I think it's, around 7 seconds, 8 seconds, I think is a good pit stop. A couple of these guys had 10-second pit stops. David Baker, his last pit stop was an 11-second run, but obviously that was a while ago. That was 7 laps ago. So yeah, everyone except for John Brony ended up, actually, Brony has not been out either. So yeah, everyone hit about that 7.5 second stop.
Yep, as expected after a short run after green flag stoppages. So this is how things stand now. Kurt Crum is at the front of the field. David H. Baker in second. Then it's Dave Walsh and Eric Mickey third and fourth, with Marco Pentonen now rounding out your top 5. But if Indy was anything to go by, then this is going to be exacerbated a lot more. Old tyres, hot track, heavy degradation of the tyres. Cam, are you expecting David H. Baker and Kurt Crum to go backwards very, very quickly?
Yes, very, very quickly. Not just because of perhaps, Dave Walsh and Eric Mickey having tires, but simply because they're not used to cutting and slicing and dicing. I mean, perhaps a little bit at the start there as the lights go out on the safety car. It's going to be mostly, what can you do? I will say it's not like Kurt Crum and David Baker are going to lose a ton. I think Kurt Crum might. He's at 11 laps. So that's about, 9 laps on green? So I have a feeling, it's going to be there as far as the grip at the beginning, but give it 3, 4, 5 laps, and I have a feeling that these two cars are going to be at least sliding down a couple of positions, and that is unless they do some fighting out in the back, because once they start fighting, everyone seems to drop off that front line.
Kurt Crum, of course, the winner of the European Majors Indianapolis 500. He has been to the top of IndyCar before. This the last IndyCar race on the calendar. Of course, not the last open wheel race on the calendar. We still have the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka coming up later in the year. But for Kurt Crum, he has the field in the palm of his hand. A field that will be on fresh tyres and looking to ravage its way through. Dave Walsh we haven't seen too much of this year. David H. Baker has been there or thereabouts, but IndyCar has certainly been his strong suit. And we have looked at Fernando Antoli as someone who is arguably one of the best all-rounders in this division, and the Obsidian Racing driver should want to score as many points as possible as long as he keeps it on the island. Pace car dives in. Very, very high from Kurt Crum. He took no chances on anyone trying to get past him. Same for David H. Baker, and he's got the getaway that he has wanted in this situation. Now you're starting to see Walsh move high early, thinking about how do I try and get through. Too wide in the back. Pete Harrod, championship implications, makes his way, just trying to defend Niskanen, but Niskanen doing a good job to hold it. Kursanov is off and into the wall, coming out of one, and there's a caution.
And that was, I can totally understand why Kursanov did that, but that track down there, that is part of the laser scan, and let me tell you, that is as bumpy can be. He just popped, and right into the inside wall.
Oh, you have to feel for Kursanov, because it was Penttinen who got up into the wall through one, and that was not a mistake from Kursanov. That was Kursanov trying to get out of it, had to go low side, and yes, the bump's really, really not helping there. And I have to say, Penttinen's mistake, but it's Kursanov who takes the hit for it, shall we say, and that will hurt.
And for Kursanov, I mean, you know, if you are watching, say, on like the roll bar cam or anything like that with Kursanov, you know, obviously it's instantaneous. It's, you know, you have less than what, a tenth of a second, as it were, to make that decision. You see the car there, but once he saw him straighten out, he really probably should have tried to stay at the very least in the bottom of the track surface, just because you don't want to run out. I mean, it's, but you can't really blame him for that, simply because anytime on a road course or something like that you go off track there's that quote runoff area. You always are okay to use it, because typically, you know, it might be not as great, but, you know, as you can just see right here, you can see that the car straightens out. So you kind of had time to maybe leave it a little bit on the racing surface, but if you're used to having a runoff area, Jake, I can't blame Kursanov for going on down there.
No, you can't. And I tell you what will be good is that for Kurt Crum and David H. Baker, it's another 5 laps, crucially. And more importantly, it's a heat cycle for the tyres. Now, it seems very silly to talk about heat cycles at this stage of the event, because that's something you normally talk about with 30 to go, 20 to go, a late caution comes out. But if you have tyres, and if you've got old tyres against new tyres, the more that you are speeding up, Cam, surely it will be that the more you are wearing out the tyres by trying to get back up to speed again. Thus, you look at the sort of the difference in tyre wear, it certainly does come down if you're a Dave Walsh or an Eric Mickey.
Yeah, and for the cars that are already lapped down, they're obviously going to be coming in. They're going to want to get some fuel. They're going to want some tires, you know, just so they can maybe perhaps go off strategy, as it were. But for Kurt Crum, I mean, totally understandable that he was going to be able to get that jump that he did. For David Baker, I'm impressed he was able to keep the defense on and keep it at least through corners number 1. But I have a feeling perhaps this time by Dave Walsh and Eric Mickey are going to be up and ready to go once the green flag drops again.
We're going to step aside very briefly here on RaceSpotTV, back with more of the Majors Pocono 500 after this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's happening again. Extra Life, the 24-hour gaming marathon where gamers across the world raise money for our local Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It feels good to do something we love to help kids, but it feels great to get closer through the magic of game. We enter as friends and leave as real-world heroes for sick kids everywhere. Sign up online. Extra Life. Play games. Heal kids.
Two quick cautions, and we have been under yellow for the 10 of the last 11 laps. Kurt Crum still with the pace, but the pace car dives down to pit road, and we are green again at Pocono. Lap 70 here of 200, and just 131 laps to go, and Walsh under pressure because here comes Eric Mickey looking to go low side to try and make the move, but Walsh is going to keep it up high, hoping to get the overspeed, and does. Good work. Walsh holds on.
Yeah, and David Baker, I mean, good job from him to hold off as well as Eric Mickey. He really tried to push as we have a caution. I don't even see a smoke plume. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
I see Jared Morgan missing half of his machine, and Enrico Leonhardt from about P17. So this was just about the back of the mid-pack, and it was between Matthias Hubel and Enrico Leonhardt.
Oh, and a third quick caution in a row. Not what you want to see. They were close together. Leonhardt came up. Hubel came back down because he had nowhere to go after the contact. And then from there, it starts checking up. Morgan trying to use his experience to check up, but it's just not seen by Patrick Neese. And Neese is up and over, and he is riding the roll hoop halfway down towards turn number 2. It's a third straight caution. And Cam, this is where it starts getting frustrating for drivers because they see how it's just a slow lollop of trying to get back into the groove again. And this is where the rhythm can be lost. Quick cautions, one after the other after the other.
Yeah, most certainly. If we can back this up to the entry to corner number 1, kind of, Hugo, if we could back this up here, perhaps while they were still running down. I want to take a look at John Brony, the 353. Looking here at that red machine of the 353, you can see kind of how he's entering the corner here. John Brony is. He comes into the corner. He is just outside of Diego Jimenez. This is okay. That is where it is. Just back it up right about where the start of the lap is, because this is kind of, it builds up. Because I think this was just a straight-up racing incident from everyone bunching into each other. Because you can see from John here, he's right on, he's got a car on the inside, he's got a car on the outside, he wisely backs out of it. But, however, behind him, Enrico does not. That causes everybody to back up and around him. Frank Oosterhuis drives around that. Matthias is there. And the cars just get really squirrely just because they're all maneuvering at full speed here. It looks good in slow motion, but just there was so much going on, Jake, that I think there was just a little bit of that highway traffic where somebody brakes for just half a second and causes a traffic jam further on down the road.
Josh Wolf decides that's enough. I'm going to dive down onto the lane. A few at the back. Hubel, who was involved in that incident. I believe we've got Jan Bruni down on the lane, as is John Roberts, Jared Morgan, likes of Reykjavik, Leonhardt also coming down onto the lane. So, for now, it's going to be a tough one for those towards the back, but it's the slowing down of this race which is going to be hurting drivers here, because we had a good green flag run of about 40 laps, but we've just hit our 5th caution, our 3rd in the space of the last 12 laps or so. That's not ideal for those at the front because they're wanting to race, they're wanting to make positions. The likes of Walsh and Mickey, this is going to be their third restart on these tyres. They are probably going to be only as good as Crum and Baker's by this point.
Yeah, most certainly anything that was gained by pitting and those guys is not. So I guess good call from Kurt Crum and David Baker. But the thing is, we haven't really made it past corner number 1 now, have we? Well, the exit to corner 1, I guess we should say. Yeah, for Kurt Crum, I mean, as long as you're cycling through, you're got that mixture as lean as possible, and you've got yourself in as high gear as you can muster. You know, save your fuel and see how far this takes you. I mean, we're going to be 75 laps into this. I mean, we're only going to have 125 to go, probably by the time we get to the green here. I know I say only, but hopefully we can get a good green flag run and they can knock off a big block of laps.
Well, hopefully they can. Lights are expected to come off this time by on top of the Ford Mustang iRacing first safety car. Of course, 2 options of safety car you can get on the iRacing service. One is a Mustang, and the other one is a roof. So it's basically a Porsche, but it's... Oh yes, I forgot you can get the truck, and that's going to be very useful as well. But of course, the lights expected to come off of the pace car, and on cue they do go off, and they go through. Cam, also we're talking about schedule later on in the season, because we are going dirt for the Knoxville Nationals, I do believe.
Yeah, that we absolutely are, and you know, I'm excited because we're going to be going to dirt. We're going to be seeing that pickup truck. That is going to be September 9th of 2018. Then we go to round 12, more your forte, Jake. We're going to be going to Japan for the Japanese Grand Prix, of course. I believe that is with the McLaren, or is that with the FW?
It will be with the McLaren.
Well, there you go. So we'll get our DRS and our KERS and whatever we call it these days.
Cam.
Excuse me. There's no K anymore. But we'll get that, and then we've only got 2 more to go, and what a 2 they are. It's the Bathurst 500, which should be, you know, easy as pie. I mean, it's the Bathurst, the simplest racetrack to drive. And then the Myrtle Beach 400 at Homestead.
Oh, yes, it will. Of course, half of the traditional Bathurst 1000, which is always a joy to behold on the likes of the iRacing Esports Network with our good friends at V8 Online. But, as we all know, this schedule is tough, and you need to work hard, and we are not going green this time by. Something has just cropped up, which has said we are not going green, apparently, so that's going to be an interesting call here by the pace car, so more pace laps.
I think this is the first time I've ever heard that soundbite from the spotter pack. I've never heard that before. I'm not sure what has occurred here. I don't see... I see Matthias Hubel. That number 68 machine, did he have an incident? I believe, yes, he did. Matthias Hubel had another incident with a car behind him.
That's Nice
and
again.
Patrick Nice. Yeah, so Patrick Nice and Leonhardt, they were all just sitting and chilling. No problems there, and not sure exactly how they managed to muster that, but boy, howdy did they.
Oh my, I'm just going to have a look at this one here, because I believe this is all on Matthias Hubel here, because
no, he got rear-ended.
Well, the field's checking up, but you can see Hubel is at 120. He hits the brakes, and it's just not scouted by Patrick Nice. The two come together, and you have to feel right now that that has got to be very, very silly for the both of them. They'll look back with sheepish smiles after that one, Cam, because the last thing you want to do is crash in formation.
And they don't even need to be that close together. That was on, what, the exit at corner number 1, I believe? Or no, just off the exit at 2. So they had another 20, 30 seconds before the green flag would even come out. And for Enrico Leonhardt, he was doing exactly what he needs to do. He's shadowing on a wing, kind of a wing formation there. You do not want to hover right behind the guy you're following until the green flag is about to come out.
Exactly. Now the lights will come off of the iRacing roof first, the iRacing Ford Mustang first safety car. Shall I correct myself? So we have an extra lap of caution because of the incident between Hubel and Nice, which is not good for them, seeing as they were both involved in the incident that caused the caution. in the first place. It will not count as a 6th caution of the day. It will still remain as 5 cautions, but this one, an extended period of caution as they head through turn number 3. If you want to hold your breath, if you want to make any more crashes here, boys, say so now or forever hold your peace. But for the moment, Kurt Crum will now look to get himself going green. David H. Baker, Dave Walsh, Eric Mickey, Fernando Ansley, your top 5. Behind that, Toika, Hernando, Niskanen, Harrod, and Silsar's. Green flag drops this time by, though. We're going to get going. Lap 75 here at Pretty Pocono. Serpentine already in play. Mickey trying to get around Dave Walsh, and it's almost the same, except roles reverse this time. Walsh has got to do it on the inside. Superior overspeed on that high side, and the high side's working. Through goes Mickey up into 3rd.
Yes, and that's the top 5 through, that's the top 10 through, that's the top 15, top 20 through, so we've at least made it past corner number 1 for the first time in probably 15 laps. So we'll see how if they can continue and master the tunnel turn now, as if they remember what the track is like. Yes, there are only 3 corners here. I know it's been a while since they were doing this at speed. No, I jest. For Kurt Crum, he comes off of leading that first lap, and he has got probably a good 20 car lengths.
Good 20 car lengths indeed. Henri Bryce-Scorn comes down onto pit road. Then he's deciding it's time to make a stop, but Mickey not done because Walsh is going to go up and under at 1 and come straight back. So we're seeing how the advantage isn't there. The battle for 3rd. Crum, then Baker, and then it's these two having a nice little scrap out, which is not what they want to be doing. Good scrap in the middle of the pack as well. Robertson versus Papenbrock once again, with Penton versus Diego Jimenez as well in the middle of that pack, as there was a close look from Fernando Ansley. Championship 2nd place at the moment, desperately trying to get points on a charging Pete Harrod, who started 14th and is now looking at position number 8, I do believe, away from Hernando. Down to the inside, he looks and hopes, but on the exit, there's Bryce-Scorn. Got to be careful about that. Harrod unable to make the move.
Yeah, and for Sergio Hernando, he was just, they had to dance just a little bit there. Going through corner number 2, into corner number 3 they go, as they work their way on the exit to 3. No, they've worked their way on the exit to 2. That's all right. See, it's good when you're watching the race by the cars coming in. So for Hernando, he seems to be able to work his way through corner number 2, but he just doesn't have the exit off of corner number 3. And I think we've seen this a couple of times now, Jake, where a couple of cars just seem to be able to take corner number 2 faster, as it were, than the cars around them, as here comes the over-under from Sergio Hernando.
He's trying it, but he's not got it fully secured, and well scouted actually by Pete Harrod, as Harrod, the championship leader, gains another vital position. This one now up into 8th place, and now there are only 2 cars between himself and Fernando Ansley, which is all the time limiting the damage done by Ansley here in this one as they start charging. Let's also remember the fuel gain is so vital. There's a lot of difference in laps, a good 7 or 8 between David H. Baker, Kurt Crum, and the likes of Walsh and Mickey, and Walsh is already moving on the attack. He's looking for 2nd position now over David H. Baker, a David H. Baker who has been quiet but has been good so far this race, Cam.
Yes, most certainly, and I think for me, David H. Baker is pretty close to Kurt Crum as far as laps go, but Kurt Crum is the one longer on the stint length. It's been 25 laps for Kurt Crum, 22 laps for David Baker, but we have to remember that 90% of that has been caution laps, and then you've got 16 laps for kind of the rest of the field. So interesting to see how long those tires are going to start lasting on them, as Dave Walsh, he's in the draft here. He's able to close on into David Baker just a hair as the last laps are ticking by. Kurt Crum actually still lightning quick through there. It was David Baker the slowest with a 43.3, but when everyone's split by just 1/10, not bad.
Not bad at all. Sylvain Mayo's looking to attack, this time on Josh Wolf, who has been making millions of positions, but has gone absolutely nowhere so far in this race. Diego Jimenez just in front. This is the battle for 15th position, and Wolf has to back out of it through 2 as he looks to pick up a different line. But once more, David H. Baker in 2nd position. Okay for the moment. Serpentine still trying to break the draft is Kurt Crum, and everyone will try and follow this as much as they can. It is starting to fall away a little bit here around Eric Mickey. That gap 0.8 of a second. He's desperate to keep this one within 1 second and keep hopes of a victory alive.
Yeah, most certainly, and with how the race is developed, I can't even imagine these guys are thinking that far forward towards the end of the race, and that's going to be another 119 laps. If we take a look at that giant board there on pit lane, you will see that. Right now everyone just seems to be settling in. That's exactly what we want to see, Jake. We want to see settling. We want to see comfort. We don't want to see anything too crazy, at least until we start getting our way through the stint. With how the pit's gone and everything like that, and with all many cautions, as on the outside goes Marcus Niskanen on Teemu Toika, and actually it's a double overtake as Pete Herod also takes Teemu Toika. I almost have to I have to say that my measurement for how long these cars are going to go is completely gone.
I think Toika's hit the wall coming out of 3 there, and yes, he has. He's clipped the wall out of 3, so Toika may be in a bit of trouble. If he can hold the draft, he'll be fine, but I expect him to have to dive down onto the lane soon. He did clip that wall, and all that momentum is absolutely gone on Toika's right-hand side, so not ideal for Tsnauki. Tsnauki in a bit of trouble, and Toika knows it as he's starting to fall back, lose the draft of Pete Harrod so quickly.
Yeah, and it is so easy to do, to just nip that outside wall. And if there's anything that we have seen, it's that when people start hitting that outside wall, well, they tend to do it multiple times in a row. They don't tend to learn their lesson. So as Pete Herod is closing in now on Niskanen, that 002 machine, I have to say for Teemu Toika, he did pick up a little bit of damage, I believe, on the number 46. But for the most part, it seems that his lap times haven't been affected too bad, though he did lose a second that last lap. He should recover.
He should recover indeed. Your top 3 right now are split by 0.8 of a second out on track as Rajkovic dives down to lane, but Toika will lose more time, 44.1 compared to a 33.5 of Silsans, 0.6 of a second slower that last time by. Yes, there is damage, and it's very visible, and there's only one place Toika's going, that's backwards and almost into the wall again, coming out of turn number 1, looking towards tunnel corner at turn 2, so really Toika struggling here at this stage, needing something to go, but keep an eye on David H. Baker. We were looking at him maybe falling backwards into Walsh. He's suddenly looking like, okay, we can start attacking Kurt Crum here.
Yeah, the lap times have all stabilized off, and I'm wondering if that's because Dave Walsh's and Eric Mickey's tires have entered that realm where it's gotten to that point where the tires aren't over-advantaging the dirty air. And you have to remember, when you have that dirty air, obviously, car's going to use more rubber. As David Baker, I'm sure, is learning that. But for Kurt Crum, he is getting reeled in here by David Baker, and I think Crum is getting caught by Baker faster than Baker is getting caught by Walsh.
Here comes Marco Penton at tunnel, looking for the move on Papenbrock. Oh, they got close, but still Papenbrock held on. Wicked car control between the pair of them. Penton had thought about the move, just started to wash a little bit out there, Cam. We've seen how that has caught 2 or 3 drivers out so far in this race. Still working very well. In terms of retirements, we have lost ourselves a good 5 drivers from this race. Henderson, Atkinson, Cologne, Kirsanov, and Nice so far.
Yeah, and Andrei Rajkovic has been on and off pit lane multiple times trying to get something fixed. But either way, it's been decent running here. Pretty much everyone in your top 15 still got good competitive cars that are in decent shape. And it's mostly just been these 3, that onset of the 3.5 cautions that we had, one right after the other, Jake, where it kind of just was a weird bookmark for the race, but I think everyone's getting kind of back up to speed.
Everyone is getting back up to speed, and they are doing a good job of keeping things nice and calm. Teemu Toika now under pressure from Sergio Hernando. This one for 9th position now as Hernando just trying to work out the right way to make the move as Toika very high up on the wall again, looking for turn 2 now next. So Hernando just playing the caution game, just waiting to try and pick that move, and he'll go for his favoured up and under, but still a great run there from Toika despite all of that.
Yeah, and Kurt Crum's doing fairly well, keeping that distance between him and David Baker. And for Dave Walsh, he did that thing where he washed out just enough to make you just a little concerned, just to get the little breath in your mouth, just a little, as the right rear almost clapped that outside wall, which we saw with Toika not that long ago. So for Dave Walsh, he is going to be continuing his press to go up high there, and it's costing him lap times. His last lap was a 43.8, and Eric Mickey's was a 43.5, so Mickey is coming.
Mickey is coming back, and Mickey, I think, is the fastest man of them all. Here's David H. Baker, though, looking for the race lead, angling for a move, but decided against it through 3, which has been his weak corner so far in the battle with Kurt Crum. Crum builds the advantage through 3, through 1 and 2. Baker comes back. No serpentine this time, but again, the gap comes down. Now 2 3/4 tenths of a second for David H. Baker, and through 1, he's going to take a much different line, pick the run up off the exit and try and settle it out through turn number 2. Mickey now there, and not only is Mickey there, but he's bringing Antley with him, and that's not ideal. The pack is forming back together again. It's a train of 5, almost 6.
Yeah, and Niskanen is there, and Herod's there, Silsons is there, and there is relative. It doesn't look like they're there, but really, any sort of loss of momentum, and you can catch lightning quick here at Pocono. We got to remember, these speeds are over 200 mile an hour, and Kurt Crum, on his own, without anyone around him to give him a boost in the draft, hit 220 mile an hour before he got off the throttle and dipped back down to 185 before. And I have to say, I mean, that's how much these tires are dropping down. They're losing 4 or 5 mile an hour off of their original race pace in the corners with these older tires.
He certainly is. Dave Walsh, though, under pressure. He just scraped up the wall at turn 1, and now through 2. Just getting that pace back and trying to build that momentum once more to try and make things happen. And Nando still waiting to find a way past Team Detroit, but it's hurting a lot. And here comes on the pit road. Yep, you're absolutely right. David H. Baker is making a stop early then, and this is what we expect. So Kurt Crum will be due down in very soon, and that's going to be telling, because that means that Crum is going to get that advantage, as is Baker, but Baker's going to go good. What a time for a caution, and it's Dave Walsh as well.
Oh no, he finally clapped that outside wall. The car is significantly damaged. He had to take a tow. Is that what happened? No, it's not actually. As I'm watching the replay, that was totally on him. He just clipped the inside the apron. As we said, you can't ride the apron there. And he held it for about 2 seconds, and then he just overcorrected and snapped on him.
I don't think there's much you can do, because he hardly had much that he was dealing with in that situation. It was half there, half there, half there. And then the moment he turns that wheel right, it's coming straight back up the track, and it's a wicked, wicked bit of contact. And what a time for a caution to come out, because in all of this, you have to remember who was down on pit road at that time. It was a certain David H. Baker. And I think David Baker's just got away with that one, because he will come out and he will regain the race lead irregardless of anything else that happens here.
That's absolutely correct, Jake, because there ain't nobody else that's going to be staying out unless somebody has managed to slip their way into the pit lane whilst we had the green flag running. I don't believe we did. I mean, I was trying to think of the right word.
Bryce was the only one.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's going to be doing anything too crazy. So I think for me, Kurt Crum, I mean, for David Baker, how lucky do you have to be?
Very, and for Grizzly, it has been the only bit of good fortune that they've managed to get so far in this event. They've lost 2 of their drivers in Henderson and Cologne, and you're looking at where they are in terms of this race. You've got Josh Wolf up into 13th position, which is good progress, but really outside of that, it has only been David H. Baker who has made some progress. We haven't seen the likes of some others like Dawson Brock in this race here today. So I have to feel that Grizzly needs something, especially when you've got Crumb and Mickey up there, and Niskanen as well, all part of that Bombshell team doing some great work in the Team's Championship. But on cue, everybody is going to look for the lane, and Team Butoika needs it first, but look who's staying out on cue. It's Henri Brycecorn, who will now inherit the race lead, but he will be on much older tyres in comparison to a certain Mr. David H. Baker, who now moves up to second.
Yeah, and in comes into the pit lane. A little bit of sliding from everybody, but everyone seems to have a good pit stop minus. I believe is that Silsauce. Yeah, Andre Silsauce. He parks it basically right against the concrete barrier. They're not going to be good pit stop for him at all, as they have to do massive amounts of work to get that car adjusted, to get the wheels on the left side. But for Eric Mickey, out no problems.
Oh, and a terrible, terrible stop there for Kurt Crumb. No surprises, but look who's got through. Mickey's done well. There's Fernando Antony behind him, and behind Antony is suddenly Pete Harrod. So Harrod, I think, is going to fall behind Crumb because he didn't get out quick enough. So now there's only one car in between. Toika with a great stop, and you're looking at this. It's all change here because you're looking at who's had a bad stop. Marcus Niskanen, right at the back of the pack. Was he speeding onto pit road?
That must be. I don't think you can drop, 10, 15 positions without something happening unless you spun out or something.
Well, let's have a look then at Marcus Niskanen going onto pit road.
Yeah, that's a penalty.
Yeah, that has to be a penalty because he was coming in from 4th position and he did spend a good 15 seconds longer than anybody else, and that has to hurt when you try and gamble with the line. The last thing you want is the line to bite back.
I almost wonder if he was doing that thing, where they shift gears quickly in order to kind of bump up to that thing. He crossed at 55 mile an hour, but he kept dipping up to 56. And I think that's what ended up catching him out for Niskanen. Well, lesson learned there. You kind of jump up in a couple of mile an hour, the engine does, in order to accommodate the higher gear. Which means you you play that game, and well, this time it has gotten a massive bite here as Henry Brycecorn is going to go around the pace car here, which means David H. Baker is now going to be our leader coming to the green.
Yes, he will. Your top 5 then, as things stand: Baker, Mickey, Antony, Crumb, Harrod. And that's not what anybody was really expecting after the amount of work that has been put in. As far as things stand, your biggest mover and shaker in the field is currently Frank Oosterhuis. Started 25th in this event. He is into 8th place overall. And boy, is he having a very, very good run, is the Dutchman. So Oosterhuis doing everything that he needs to do in this event. But if you're David H. Baker, you've got the man who is so good in the second half of the stint. You've got Antony, who has not shown his hand at all so far in this event. What do you do as a man having to defend against, championship leader and the king of ovals so far this year?
It is a mighty tall task, but we are all on tires, and you know what? This is the type of track where it's more based on what that car is doing. And I think as long as he's able to line up the corners and get a good run, David should be able to keep the lead over Eric Mickey. And you have to remember now, Dave Walsh isn't there to fight with Eric Mickey, so now it's a knife fight in a phone booth for David Baker, because he's going to have some extraordinarily quick competition now right behind his gearbox.
He certainly will. Lights off on top of the pace car. It will be lap 95 of 200 as we look to get ourselves going again. Pace behind the Grizzly Motorsports 33 machine of David H. Baker. Pace car dives down in. Late wait, but he gets going and he looks to serpentine straight away with Eric Mickey. Everyone's going to chase, as now we got a good 2 wide here as Hernando tries to get back on Oosterhuis. Toika trying to get around Pete Harrod, who has to go defensive in the middle of this one. 2 cars slowly break away as Mickey desperately holding on, but Toika is around Pete Harrod, and Harrod's losing ground in the championship.
Yeah, and Fernando Antoli is losing out to Eric Mickey and David Baker. Mickey is on the attack for David Baker. He tried to maybe run the outside to the inside off of the tunnel turn. Nothing in it as they run down the 3 for the first time. And for David Baker, he's covered for that first lap. I think that's what he's needed to do. Now all the tires are going to be up to temperature and everything like that. So I have a feeling now as David, he's just really pushing that serpentine, which is a view I love, by the way. If you go to an extended pan of all the cars serpentining down the front stretch, it really is something, Jake.
It certainly is something. Toyka now is looking at Kurt Krum, who had an extended amount of laps led. Both go high and starting to really try and make some positions. And there's a good 2 wide. There's now Penton tries to get past Robertson, the elder statesman. We see him sometimes in the 60-plus Racing Adventures League. He runs high. Pick a pocket then, Mr. Penton. And like Oliver Twist, you got to pick a pocket or 2. Look at that. Josh Wolf picks Penton's pocket. The pocket picker just got picked.
Sure. As the 48 car is fighting back, Josh Wolf on the inside line. I thought Penton perhaps would have a good enough exit to counter the pickpocketing from Joshua Wolf, which he does end up happening going down the straight there. I think Wolf could have really pressed that issue, but he just decided not to risk it. Especially when you got cars that close behind you. Here he'll go again, Jake, as Wolf on the inside, Penton on the outside, and that's just going to allow Andreas Robertson, the 333, to pull away.
But Josh Wolf is on a hunt, and he is after Marco Penttinen. That much we can say, but now it's starting to gap out at the front as David H. Baker is pulling away from Eric Mickey, as we have seen so far. Now 9/10 of a second, and Mickey starting to fall backwards towards Fernando Antoli, and Baker suddenly is going to have a second's gap. Harrod back through, though, on Teemu Toyka, just what he's needed. And, well, he's done that one at Tunnel Turn 2. So Toyka now backwards into 6th place, but crucially enough, Harrod has lost quite a bit of time to Kurt Krum, as you keep an eye on Penton, I do believe it is, trying to get past Robertson, and will do.
Yeah, and he managed to keep the counter from Wolf, and he was able to now go on him. Now Wolf wants to get a piece of Robertson. It seemed like the draft here, I almost thought that Wolf was going to try to dive on the inside of Penton going through corner number 3, but obviously that is a very, 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 very bad idea, so thankfully they did not do that, as the line continuing, and for Andreas Silsounds, for as abysmal of a pit stop that he had, he's still back in P9, and he's still part of that front group, Jake. So not terrible for him, but I believe as we get past the official halfway mark after an hour and 34 minutes of racing, are there some new challengers to pick up where some of the other cars may be falling by the wayside?
Yes, there are. As half distance, the David H. Baker in the number 33 will now officially be scored as complete. We'll change from lap 100 to, at the end of this lap, 100 laps to go at pretty Pocono. Some great action we've had so far. Diego Jimenez under pressure as he looks to defend this one from Andre Rajkovic. And Rajkovic, who is 2 laps down, there shouldn't be any real worries at all. But really, it's Robertson who is the bottle in the neck in the middle of the pack, because you've got now John Roberts trying to get in, Marcus Pappenbrock. John Roberts, who was a lap down at one stage, now up into 13. He's having a great day, and he has Boost Ted, the Boost Ted machine, straight up through as Josh Wolf finally gets past Robertson. You've been getting strikes on the pun alert, and now look at what you've done. You've gotten to boot. It's been good to see. I mean, I think with all those cautions, there were a couple of cars that were that had some unfortunate consequences from that early race incident there, as Robertson has to get stuck on the outside. John Roberts now continuing on the inside line. Pappenbrock watching. I think it's been one of those situations where that it was almost like a halftime, as it were. Even though it was like on lap 60, like 48 to like 60. It kind of reset everything and allowed a lot more cars to enter the picture here, as Joshua Wolf has checked out from Robertson. I think that you saying that the neck of the bottle is Andreas Robertson currently is fairly accurate. It is. Now Pappenbrock starts to attack John Roberts as he washes out at 3, and suddenly switch back. Here's Diego Jimenez trying to get through the Spaniard as he gets down to the inside and makes a lovely, lovely move. Can he cover it off? No, he can't. Pappenbrock still checked up slightly, though, and wasn't able to put the power down as like, but Jimenez tried to make the move. Couldn't quite make it happen. Silsans, though, still battling it out with Sergio Hernando in for 8th position out on track. And that 8th position, it has been Hernando for the longest time. I think Silsans is just happy to wait for this one. This one, a longer style run, and maybe even one of those runs which could go to a green flag stop. But keep an eye at the front because Mickey just took a 10th off of Baker that last time by.
I almost thought you said we were going to have a green flag finish, and I was going to say, well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But, yeah, I mean, I got to say, everyone seems to be spaced out just enough. But as we know, all it takes to bring out a caution is one car, as John Roberts is still kind of behind Andreas Robertson. Robertson seems to have dialed out whatever issues was befetting that number 333 purple and gold machine, and he's kind of balanced himself now. And I have to say, as far as the big pack thing right now, is Josh Wolf going to be able to catch Marco Pettinen? If he's not going to be able to, which I'm not sure if he's going to, he's a little far back for the draft. Does that mean that Wolf is going to have to be checked out until they start doing that, perhaps a pit stop, as Andreas Silsas and Sergio Hernando are going side by side through one? That'll allow Pettinen to close in.
It will, and that is Silsans gaining the position, and Hernando not able to make it happen through 2. That was just simple down the inside from Silsans, making the bottom work. And sometimes that top side has been so vital in this event, but the bottom working nicely there for Andres Silsans. He gets exactly what he needs in that moment, but it is allowing Marco Pettinen now to close up. A 43.8 that last time by 4/10 on Hernando, and lost 2 to Andres Silsans, so he is firmly now in the draft as John Roberts goes low side, trying to get past Robertson, and Robertson getting a little bit close, but still not able to get a full car length alongside, and Pappenbrock will be going, come on, let's sort this out, I want to get moving here. And as they head to the tunnel corner, it's still going to be Gentleman John, and Gentleman John says, you know what, I'll give you an extra corner because I'm such a gentleman.
I don't think that was the reason, but you know what? I'm sure if you asked him, he would say sure, as he gives him through 3 as well. And I gotta say, it's interesting because corner number 1, whoever has that inside line can drift up to the exit and have a good run there. And then whoever has the inside through 2 and 3 just really suffers for it. And here comes Pappenbrock. Pappenbrock, almost with a pocket of air, pushes Robertson just a little too fast into corner number 1. Roberts was a little defensive, pre-defensive. He said he probably didn't want to get involved in that one. We've seen enough incidents in corner number 1 today. And yeah, everyone's just catching up, and now Diego Jimenez seems to have gotten the car sorted out, and he has not been having the day that he wants to have, but you know what? He's back at P15. He's on the attack. He's to the inside of Pappenbrock. That is going to be so very close. They do touch, but they were going slow enough, only 185 mile an hour, that they were able to, as they come out of the exit to 3, manage to get that all sorted.
Momentum killer, and this is going to allow Niskanen the chance to go through. Oh, there's contact between the 2 teammates. Oh my goodness, Diego Jimenez. Oh, that was scary with Marcus Niskanen. And looking at that incident,
absolute pancake.
It is a pancake, yes, but I think it was just merely the point that I don't think Jimenez saw Niskanen. I think it's one of those weird technical difficulties that make that happen there, Cam.
I can tell you exactly what happened. If you're looking out off of the top of Diego Hormilia's machine, you're looking at that top camera, you can see everything that's in front of you, obviously, if you're doing like an onboard, that you can see the orange car on the inside. Now, this is the problem here. You got the orange car, you're spotted, okay, you're clear. You're clear. You got the car on the inside. Well, the spotter hadn't called that car out yet. He called clear on the orange car and wasn't able to get on the radio fast enough to say, hey, you now have a car on the inside again. So it was just one of those situations where he heard clear, which was accurate, but in the time that it took for that message to get sent, now all of a sudden he had another car 2 lanes down on his inside.
And the time you've gone to get that explanation out, Cam, it's been 3 positions that have been lost now for Marcus Niskanen, and here's a 4th as Jan Bruni makes his way back on through down in. So Niskanen's horror day gets just a little bit worse. Speeding on the lane, then followed up by a pancake with your own teammate. There might be words at Bombshell after this as things continue to go on, but Pete Harrod all of a sudden, keep an eye on this one, Cam. Kurt Crum has been reeled in.
Yeah, it was. I'd like to call it a high five between teammates. Can we not call it that? I mean, hey. And as Kurt Crum has been reeled in, David Baker is checked out, by the way. He has got a massive lead, 2 seconds on pace. That is very impressive for somebody who had gotten that position simply by not coming into pit a couple of laps ago. But yeah, I mean, everyone else seems to kind of be in that essence where everyone is kind of closing in just a little bit as Henry Bryce-Scorn will come into the pit lane. But I gotta say, I'm happy we didn't have that turn into a caution.
Yeah, I'm very happy that wasn't a caution either. David H. Baker now up to a 2-second advantage at the front of the field. Mickey still there in 2nd place, and you are right. We never wanted to see a caution out of it, but it's just that little bit of worry that a lot of drivers seem to continue to have around Pocono is that an incident happens and sometimes they get very, very large. So that's the 2nd or 3rd time today, Cam, that we have seen pretty much a get-out-of-jail-free card used as out of pit road comes Henri Bryce-Scorn, who's just made a stop. So I think we may be in the window for a green flag stop here.
Perhaps, but if we gotta say you can run 30 laps on a pit lane run, you're on lap 110 right now. So that means, it's just kind of process of elimination here, of counting back from the checkered flag. You don't want to be near, so you want to say basically you want to make it to lap 202, 203, as far as fuel mileage goes. So you knock off 30 from that. Well, now we're at 270 something. 280 something, and then you just kind of keep tracking your way back until you get to where you're sitting at now. And the problem is, you're not in one of these teams. You don't have an engineer or a spotter or anything like that on the comms with you. You got to do this math in your head. I have enough trouble doing that on commentary. I can't imagine trying to drive a car over 210 mile an hour at Pocono and doing the math.
And as we all know, commentators are the worst mathematicians in the world. So that's just something just to keep.
That's a feature, not a bug.
Yes, it is a feature. Diego Jimenez around the outside of the lap traffic of Andrei Rajkovic. Rajkovic, of course, racing in the middle of the pack, and that was close there from Diego Jimenez. Another close scare. It seems that the Spaniard has been pushing everything, and there you can see he also tags a bit of grass through 3 as well. He is not taking liberties right now. He wants to push.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of lawn service for the people here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. I mean, hey, if you're on new tires and those new tires are only going to last you 5-6 laps before they start falling off, I would absolutely want to push. The thing for me is that even for Bryce-Scorn, this car is a lap down. So we're getting into that situation like we saw with Dave Walsh and Travis Henderson, where a car there's a lap difference between the cars, yet they're still close on track.
They are still very, very close on track, and we still have some good battles going on as you've got Sylvain Maillot trying to stay with Matthias Hubel. Hubel, who was involved twice in incidents over the last caution, but he's done well to keep his nose clean right now. He's got to think about Diego Jimenez in front, which he is certainly not close enough to getting, but these gaps are starting to open up, and this is where you talk to someone like Pete Harrod, the team man in the 21. He understands right now, okay, Fernando Antoni's 3rd, I'm 1 position away. There's not much I can do when he's 2.2 seconds down the road, but what I can do is stay with Kurt Crum and try and make strategy work out in the long run.
Yeah, and I know that, some people who haven't raced here at Pocono, like myself, but not be experienced in watching races here at Pocono, because I watched it basically the entire race last week. It is not the kind of track that you can do the whole drafting to help each other sort of situation, where you draft past the guy in front of you, and then they draft past you the next corner, or something like that. We don't have that metric here. It is very single car running. The car behind just gets the dirty air, not really, which I have to say, I love how I'm seeing what we saw 1 week ago on the racetrack at Long Pond, Pennsylvania, but unfold here on the iRacing simulator, almost the exact same thing. So happy to say that as far as the IR18 goes, obviously they get a big check mark for me, because it's looking very similar. The problem is that the on-track action sometimes gets a little tricky.
Almost 3 wide, and of course when you say that, without Robert Wickens' major accident as Hernando almost clips the wall, and almost a 3 wide think from Josh Wolf. Go careful, buddy, as he goes to the inside. Of course, Niskanen's on fresh rubber, and you can see the big check up there as Hernando makes his way through. Josh Wolf, he thought he had it done. Oh no, Hernando's got more tricks up of his sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I'm surprised at the amount of wolves that we have here on the iRacing service. We got Patrick Wolf from the BRT team. I believe there's another Wolf somewhere around, and then there's Joshua Wolf, and I don't believe any of them are related to one another. As Roberts goes on the inside of Robertson, the son of Roberts, as John on that inside with the 486, the Boosted machine, able to get that position fairly easily finally, as Andreas kind of washes out and gets into the way of Marcus Poppenbrock. And I gotta say, for Joshua Wolf, excuse me, it's getting to that sort where he is starting to make those positions and make up that track position after starting with 16.
Yeah, and we've just seen a move as well as Frank Oosterhaus holds off Andres Silsans then over that last corner, and that's a good drive then from him to maintain 7th position out on the track just for the moment. Gap though at the front. Well, it's been great strategy from David H. Baker. His setup works beautifully in clean air. He's got 4.1 now at the front. The driver who started 5th and was struggling to make overtakes. I think we can put that down to his setup was built for clean air and clean air only, as Robertson gets back past John Roberts.
Yeah, which is surprising. I thought perhaps Robertson had that done in a way, but obviously I think Robertson is just able to close right on up behind people, and I'm surprised that Poppenbrock hasn't taken advantage of this. Poppenbrock, of course, who started in 27th position, hasn't really been anywhere this second half of the race. It seems the phone's ringing off the hook. Nobody's home because, well, not that far back, you've got a massive group, a kerfluffle, as it were, the official term, of cars, because there's Andre Reisovic, who's 2 laps down. He's trying to pass Diego Jimenez. Then you got Henry Breiskorn, who's on brand new tires, well, at least was, maybe 5-10 laps ago. Then you got Hubel, Maillard, John Brony, and then you got Jared Morgan. Those are all in different assertions of 1 lap down to on the lead lap, and it's getting to that situation where things are getting a little dicey, I almost would inject.
It is starting to get dicey at the back of the pack, that much can be said, but certainly not dicey at the front of it here as we continue with green flag running on lap 119 here. Out of 200, the road to home as Jan Brony desperately tries to find a way past Sylvain Maillot to 17 and the 353, and a big checkup actually from Jared Morgan behind. Worth also saying that it is still his 50th outing, shall we say, in majors. Of course, back when it was called Pack Majors as well, runs normally in the Pacific Split with our good friends at the Global Sim Racing Channel, who we congratulate for joining the iRacing Esports Network now, as well as a big move for Breiskorn to get past Diego Jimenez. This back of the pack, they're close together, and that could scream out in the next few moments, Cam. Dare we say caution?
I think if we're going to see a caution, that's going to be because somebody ends up losing the car and crashing into the outside wall instead of 2 cars hitting each other. Because it's in that situation, as it were, where the car really needs to lean. It needs to have area around you. And if you're trying to predict how much the car is going to drift up the track, it seems to me that at the beginning of the stint, you have good tires. You're able to drive the car where you're looking, as it were, where you want the car to drive. And then it's like that for maybe 10, 15 laps, I would say. Then you get to this weird middle stint, which is like, I'd say maybe another 10, 15 laps, where the tire doesn't really seem to change a lot, and then it just seems like the last 5 or 10 laps of the stint, it just almost falls off a cliff.
Well, it certainly does. As again, Brony looking to angle to the inside, just can't quite get alongside Wiggle on the exit. Good save from Mayo there, and that was almost up into the outside and the safer barrier, but that was a very, very good move in the end from Jan Brony, and one that was crucial for the position that he wanted to make. It's time for pit stop window though. Penttinen has made his way down onto the lane, first of the real names, shall we say, who are looking to make a stop.
Yeah, Jean Brony, after making that position, has gone himself down to pit lane, as well as Matthias Hubel, our caution calamity connoisseur, as Marco Penttinen eases his way in. These guys are so unaggressive going into the pit stops
Leaders
here.
in. Crucially, leaders in. David H. Baker dives onto the lane. Remember, he pitted effectively a lap before everybody else and has used more fuel. Kurt Crum dives down onto the lane and has a big scary moment. Surely he's speeding there because he was checking it up. He locked the rear axle.
75 mile an hour.
Oh, and he's a lucky, lucky man after all of that. Kurt Crum won at Indy, almost binned it when it came to Pocono.
Yeah, and the problem with Pocono is that you have 0 landmarks. You have the Pocono Mountain Range. Yes, it's beautiful. As far as the entry to pit lane, you got nothing, as David Baker now pulls away after a 10-second pit stop. That's not good. Everyone else is typically running 7s, so that's almost 2 seconds off the bat there, as Kurt Crum, well, they've done his service, now most certainly getting himself a speeding penalty served now, as there goes Sergio Hernando. So for Kurt Crum, he's going to have a lot of work to do.
Well, he'll hope for a caution to get himself back into it, because that's going to cost him in comparison.
24 seconds.
Yes, 24 seconds. It's going to hurt him in comparison to Pete Harrod, and Harrod himself in a scrap with Timu Toika now, who's coming back into this in the final stages of the stint. So vitally, for someone like maybe David H. Baker, he's getting some clean air. He's getting time to go out there and run the sort of laps that he wants to do at this stage. Lap 125. Out of 200, Eric Mickey looks to dive down in then onto pit road. This will release Fernando Antoli, but it won't because he's going down to the lane. So Pete Harrod comes in, caution. Oh, what a time for a caution. Jordi Ardid is involved in this one, and it was Andres Silsans as well. A shame for Silsans, who had just got back out on track. It was heading through the tunnel corner. Ardid comes up, nowhere for Silsans to go. And you have to say, Silsans is a very, very unlucky man.
Very, very unlucky. I also have to say it reminds me very much of what happened with Wickens, almost. Though Wickens was on the inside, going through that corner number 2, he kind of piked that outside wall and got sent for a spin. Thankfully stayed in the safer barrier this time. If only that would have happened in the real world, and that perhaps could have prevented some injuries for Albert Wilkinson. Which we have to say, he is conscious, he is talking, he's breathing on his own, he's talking to the family, and I gotta say, I'm super relieved to hear that, by the way. But yeah, for Andres Silsans, it seemed almost like he was fighting his way back through calamity that he had earlier in the race, and now he's all thrown away.
Well, it's all thrown away. I don't know about Robert Wilkinson, but Robert Wickens certainly not having a good time of things last time out at Pocono through turn number 1. But besides that, though, we got ourselves a big, big caution. It's right in the middle of the green flag cycle. So once more, we go around 30 laps before a caution strikes. Pete Harrod at the front of the field, they will all have to come in. Now, crucially, Eric Mickey was able to get himself onto the lane and out again. And not only was he able to do that, he's able to do that with the caution coming out before David H. Baker could get back around. So Mickey's got the big jump that he was hoping for, Cam.
And Sergio Hernando came into pit, obviously, a little bit earlier. He came in 2 laps before, so he is now out. Marcus Niskanen, well, he was out for 15 laps on the stint. Not sure if I like that decision. But for Kurt Crum, obviously, and the rest of the field, as people are now pulling into their pit stalls, as gotta say here, Jake, it's been a good 127 laps to begin with, but now I think things are gonna get a little bit more serious.
Oh, yes, they will. This is where we start hitting the crunch time as the last few drivers make their way out of pit road. Stay with us here on RaceSpotTV because we'll be back with more action from the Pocono 500 here, European Majors, after this.
It's happening again. Extra Life, the 24-hour gaming marathon where gamers across the world raise money for our local Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It feels good to do something we love to help kids, but it feels great to get closer through the magic of game. We enter as friends and leave as real-world heroes for sick kids everywhere. Sign up online. Extra Life. Play games. Heal kids.
When we go back to green, we will have 72 laps remaining at Pocono. Eric Mickey getting fortunate in the green flag stops. A caution comes out in the middle of it. He retains the lead. Antley in second, David H. Baker in third. Then it's Penton and Harrod, your top five as things stands. Pace car is angling to get onto pit road as 2 hours are about to be completed here at Pocono Raceway. Let's get ourselves underway. 72 laps to go, and we are green once again. And Eric Mickey with a good start then, covering that outside as you now typically get to do. 3 wide though in the back. Oosterhouse trying to get in on Toyka and Harrod, and now all of a sudden, watch out Josh Wolfman about where you're going. Around the outside they all go. Toyka trying to pick the run up, and he's got the 4 in front to help and takes the position away from Harrod.
Yeah, and Harrod, he's able to comfortably slide in there as Oosterhuis is now covered outside by Josh Wolf, so he's not able to get the entry he wants. Josh Wolf not able to get the exit he wants, so they equal each other out, and Oosterhuis is going to be able to get that position up front as it's Timu Toyka beat Harrod, and now Josh Wolf running way inside. I think Oosterhuis washed out there, and now Josh Wolf is going to get the drag from Pete Harrod.
And there's the Serpentine coming into play, and he's got the move done. Harrod now looking down to the inside of Toika, trying to desperately get that one back. But to Snauki on the outside, running well, maybe a little bit high, which is going to cost him slightly. But no, he keeps the position. So Toika doing a great job. Mickey starting to pull away from Anthony, who has just been consistent, playing the Alain Prost game. Don't need to win this event, just need to score more points than my rival. He is doing exactly that at the moment in second.
Yeah, most certainly. And Eric Mickey, I mean, you have to wonder what could have happened if Dave Walsh was still around. Unfortunately, Dave Walsh having that solo incident that had cost him so very, very much. Because, I mean, you want to talk about a good points day. Think of what he could have done there. As Eric Mickey has got that good lead, and I have to say he's probably going to keep it. I haven't seen a ton of top speed from Fernando Antoli over the course of this race. So Antoli's just been doing good. He's been covering his corners, just as you were saying, that Prost-esque attitude. But David Baker's going to be coming on strong here, as well as Marco Penton. Finally, he has climbed the mountain. It seems that everyone else was able to get through with some kind of pit strategy or tires or something like that. Penton, he has just had to do it the old hard way.
Yes, he has. Sylvain Maillot trying to get through on Diego Jimenez, who has been a little bit in the wars so far in this race, but done very well to make the move there has Maillot. But Jimenez will pick up the draft, heading towards turn one. Just in front of that, they're too wide once more as Harrod finally gets the move down the inside. A mistake from Toika was not what he wanted coming out of 3, and it was just the littlest of wiggles as he started moving up the circuit. But as well as that, Pappenbrock again through on Robertson, and now Robertson going together once more. It seems that the two Roberts, or the Roberts, are right there.
Yeah, it's the Roberts and then Roberts' son going at it. And actually, here comes Sylvain Maillard, who hasn't been here basically all race long. The Frenchman coming in here on the rear end of John Roberts, the 486, as I believe it was because Maillard was involved in one of that triple run of cautions that we had around lap 60. Finally now he's climbed up as well, and so it's getting to that point where we've seen people who has fallen to the wayside climbing their way back now. As it's getting pretty exciting, and I think it's just maybe my eyes, but is Marcus Pappenbrock spotting a little bit of front wing damage?
Well, let's have a look, and the answer is going to be yes, he is front left, and he clips the apron as he heads through the tunnel corner as well, which is not going to be helpful.
Carrying that for a while.
And he has been carrying that for a little while, so he's been managing that very, very nicely in terms of the way that he's been running, just trying to pick it up as much as possible. But Fernando Antoli now has David H. Baker very firmly behind, a quarter of a second, so Baker needs to stay with Mickey ideally, and if he's going to do that, he's got to go make a move as you're keeping an eye on that battle behind there.
And I've discovered what has happened with Marcus Pappenbrock's front end, because I knew that he hadn't done that during the race. It happened coming to the green for that last restart. Henry Brycecorn was going to start behind him. Yes, hi, Pat. As Pappenbrock started to go, Brycecorn was already alongside. Then he the wheel just jammed to the right. He absolutely pancaked Pappenbrock and then straightened out, and they all went to go.
Okay then, so not ideal for Pappenbrock, and he won't be too happy about that, but sometimes incidents like that happen too wide with Robertson now, as he looks to get back past Mayo, and Mayo, not much he can do on the inside. That's a pretty good move, all things considered, and even more all things considered is now Mickey is starting to hit dirty air of Henri Brycecorn just in front. This is allowing Anthony straight back in, and look at how he comes straight back in. He was almost 0.7 of a second back 2 laps ago. It's down to just 0.4.
Yeah, and as they go past the start-finish line, that's going to tell you it was a 43.5 versus a 43.3, and then a 43.2 from David Baker. So it's this front trio here that has pulled away a massive gap between him, Marco Penton, and Pete Herod. As then there's another gap, and then you got Toika, Wolf, and Oosterhuis, who are all still together, and Pappenbrock is nursing that front wing well.
Here comes Baker. Oh, that's easy. That's so easy on Fernando Antoli, and I think Antoli just got out of the throttle and let him have it there, because I'm not sure that he wanted to do that too much, get involved with it, and he just eased off, let him have the position, and he was thinking about the championship. So Antoli going, okay, championship's more important than the victory at this stage, and it's allowed Mickey a chance to get back to 6/10ths.
And alternatively, you know, at this point, people are pretty accustomed to the vehicle that they have here in this IR-18. You can know how comfortable you are running a particular line through a particular corner, and if somebody is forcing you to take a particular line that you know that there is at least a percentage that you might not come out the other side with all four wheels intact, I would back out of that, no problem.
Well, that's what you would do, and I think a lot of drivers like Fernando Anthony would think, okay, there's things more important at stake as a caution. Big up and over. Silsans again, and out and over the retaining wall he goes. That was a massive solo car incident. Heading through tunnel turn 2. He hits the wall, up and over. Barrel roll 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he's up and over. That's a massive one, twice for Silsans.
I mean, hopefully he's not using VR. I think you and I can both say if there aren't any if the only injuries that you can acquire as a sim racing driver is if you have a direct drive wheel and decide to crank it up because you hate yourself and you manage to rip both of your thumbs off. Or alternatively, you're wearing VR and your car does that.
Well, he'll have a very poorly stomach if he's in VR, and if he doesn't, then he'll be a very frustrated driver. That's probably one of the most violent crashes I've ever seen on the iRacing.
iRacing crash right there.
Yes, it just put iRacing right there. That is a...
Well, you know what? It's good promo. I'm sorry, continue, but a good promo because in the near future, Jake, that won't be happening.
Oh, very true. Brand new damage model coming soon. Of course, experience shown at Belle Isle in the Skip Barber, how difficult that is. And it's not only the fact that damage is happening, it's not just, okay, you can lose your front wing, you can lose actual tires.
It's gonna be, that would be a very different incident. Yeah, I have to say, very excited about it, but what I'm excited about mostly, from what we've seen in the videos that they've released, and that poor Skip Barber car, that thing is, I don't think anyone else wants to, as everyone comes down pit lane, we probably should at least point this out. It's the battle between Eric Mickey and David Baker, and then Fernando Antoli. I have to say, the damage model is seemingly so slick, Jake. That's kind of what I love about it. It seemed just so natural. As Mickey blows his pit stall.
He does, and he was just so aggressive trying to hit it, and that may hurt because Antoli is going to take the lead, and what a time to go and get that back. So Fernando Antoli, all of a sudden, Mr. Patience has just paid off. He's got exactly what he wants, and Harrod's not had a good stop. He's behind Toyka and Wolf now, so maximum damage to Harrod and his championship lead, which stands at 46 points, not much longer.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got other drivers around him that are ready to go. I mean, Pappenbrock has gotten a new front wing. Oosterhuis has been aggressive all race long. Not criminally aggressive or anything like that, but he has been in the race, basically, all race long. Robertsons are there, as well as Roberts. And so for Pete Harrod, if he's not careful, if he goes back, he is going to be left to the Wolves, and he's got Joshua Wolf in front of him.
Well, being left to the Wolves, and when you've got the leader of the Wolf pack just in front, that's not going to be very helpful at all. But it does mean that a lot of drivers want that chance to get themselves moving, and a lot of drivers do have that. A lot of drivers now gearing up with 60 laps to go, looking at 50, looking at 40, you're thinking, okay, how do we start gearing this up? You start thinking, okay, how many positions do I need to make before the next caution comes out? Will there be another caution between now and the end of this race? That's everything that goes through a driver's mind, and that is so difficult to compute, and that's why IndyCar racing can be considered phenomenal to watch.
Well, I think for me, it's the on-track action. Obviously, here at Pocono, it's a little muted. You know what? I would say that we've had some really good fighting for positions, jockeying for positions here at Pocono. I know that it seems a little, it's certainly not Gateway or Iowa or Indianapolis, but it has definitely been an entertaining race on track. it's always that strategy element, that fuel element. I mean, how many times in Indianapolis somebody won because they were going 10 seconds a lap off pace, but they had the fuel to get to the finish, and someone else had to. I mean, that happens all the time, in not only iRacing, but in real life IndyCar as well. And could something like that happen here? Well, we'll have to find out.
Well, fuel saving did happen heavily in the iRacing Indianapolis 500, which was won, of course, by the King of Chins, Joshua Chin. Kurt Crum has stayed out, though. He will have the race lead as we go to the green flag with just 60 laps to go at Pocono Raceway here at the fantastic Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Third position right now, behind Fernando Anthony, is David H. Baker, Eric Mickey, Marco Pentsman, and then Timu Toika. So, for now at least, it is Kurt Crum back to the front, but he is alternative on strategy. And if he's only got one stop left to go, then he's in great prime position. This is the quintessential, you've got one stop left to go. 60 laps remaining at Pocono. 2 if you're going to be aggressive with it, but you don't want to make it 2. Pace car will dive onto pit road. 60 laps to go at Pocono. Green flag flies, and let's go Serpentine. Kurt Crum goes hard to the inside. Mickey instantly diving to try and get around David H. Baker, who's got no friends out there helping, as the team battle gets a little bit more heated between Grizzly and Bombshell. Bombshell get 2 in front of Grizzly now, and around the outside. Good move from Mickey.
Yeah, and we have one car go right to the inside. That's Frank Oosterhuis, and he has managed to avoid what happened. Nope, now he's going to clip the wall. You know what? He had a dead stick. He had a dead stick. I wonder if he didn't have some hardware failure or if the wheel didn't die on him, because he tracked up. Oh, you know what? That's suspension. You could try to steer that as many times as you want, but once the wheels are unlocked like that, there ain't nothing you can do. And unfortunately, for the driver of Enrico Leonhardt, nothing he could really do, and he absolutely clobbered the 26.
The thing there for Oosterhuis is that he gets up high, he clips the wall, he comes down, he's desperately trying to keep it straight against the wall. It's the opening that really does hurt him, because he was keeping that car as straight as he possibly could. The moment that opening happens, and that's the opening which allows maybe some of the safety crew to get out onto the track, he just pancakes that second safer barrier, and that's what causes another caution. And once more, Kurt Crum at the front of the field, taking advantage of caution after caution after caution, Cam.
Absolutely, and I mean, great call. Look, I was a little fluffed by when Kurt Crum and David Baker they did that stay out thing where they had like tires that had 10 laps on them. Now it seems to me that they've made the genius stroke of the day.
They have made the genius move of the day, and I have to agree with you on that one, Cam, because you look at Kurt Crum, he's been nowhere for the last 70, 80 laps or so. He's just come back into it, and now with 142 laps now going to be scored complete, Kurt Crum sitting in a very, very nice driver's seat, and every time they continue ticking off these laps, more fuel saved, more tyres saved, and we are very firmly 1 stop to go at Pocono.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just sitting here. Do you come into the pits and top off? I would say no. Somebody I spy going on to the inside, that's Matthias Hubel, who is on the lead lap, so I mean, hey, when you're sitting back there, why not?
Why not indeed? Jared Morgan onto the lane. He's got himself up into the leading lap. Henri Bryce-Gorn dives down to the lane. He does not want to get back the leading lap, or he can't get back the leading lap at this stage. But for now, this is going to be a tough challenge home. Make overtakes quick, and hope that the cautions don't come quick either. And the biggest killer so far today has been turn number 1. That's where we've seen the majority of the incidents here at Pocono, Cam.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, it is a difficult track in real life and in sim. It's a bit tough. It's notorious like that. And you know what? We're going to have, 63 7 laps to go here at Pocono, and I'm just kind of getting ready. I'm hoping that we can get a good green flag run here to really click off a lot of these laps, because I have a feeling the drivers are going to start getting impatient.
Drivers will get impatient. They will start going for the half moves and then the moves that aren't really there at all. So you just got to pick it up and make it work. And a lot of drivers are looking for that, hoping for that, willing that to happen. And if they can make that happen, they could pick themselves up with a Pocono victory. So that Pocono victory, looking for something big to happen. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But of course, Cam, next time by, lights will come off the pace car and we will go back to green once more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we gotta also just kind of tip the hat right here to everyone that has been here, and all the drivers who have been really pushing and doing all of these different races here, this major series. We have done pretty much every single type of car you could possibly imagine. I mean, we've done USAT, we've done, I mean, pretty much everything you could possibly imagine. And Jared also, shout out to a guy by the name of Jared Morgan. He will be starting his 50th consecutive start. I believe he runs the Pacific, as he's not here with us in the European split.
He is?
Yeah,
oh,
hey, there you go.
19th.
Ah, see, there he is.
Shout out to him, but if you haven't been paying attention, Cam, he was involved in the lap 2 incident and he's been fighting at the back trying to get through all this race. So he's not had the best 50th career start in the major series, but
it's the Grizzly car too. It's the off-colored Grizzly car. I should have known that.
Yeah, it's an off-colored Grizzly car, exactly. But either way, in the words of Cam Walsh, pace car lights are off, and yes, indeed. Kurt Crum with the pace of the field once more. Anthony in second, Mickey in third. David H. Baker in 4th place, lost out on the last restart. But for Kurt Crum, it's now how long can I hold on until the end of this race? He's got to do it for just another 56 laps of racing. That's all that he's got left underneath him to do. Anthony's thinking about the championship. Drivers like Pete Harrod lost even more time as they round turn number 3 here at Pretty Pocono. The tricky triangle is taking more and more victims every single time they go round. We are down to 23 circulating, if not a little bit less at this stage, and it is a bit less. It's 22. Pace car comes in, green flag out, and Kurt Crum gets a pretty good start. Serpentine once more, and again it's a look for Mickey trying to get past Fernando Antoli, and Antoli is not going to give it up here into 1. He goes higher than Mickey and uses all of the track and gets a fantastic exit as well to go with that as well. We're good and we are green. Mayo attacking Robertson, and now it's Antoli attacking for the lead.
Yeah, and he's got a pretty good start, I have to say, here as well as the rest of the field. Everyone just seeming to be pretty straightforward there. Actually, no, Sergio Hernando has managed to clip the wall. Marcus Niskanen, unfortunately, he seems to be so unlucky today. But Sergio Hernando doing another IndyCar as he's plummeted his way, and he parks in the wall that Oosterhouse ended up parking his car into. So for Sergio Hernando, how unfortunate, Jake. He was having a wonderful day, fighting his way up and down the field, constant battles. Now his day is done. He had Robertson on the inside, or was that regular Roberts? No, that was regular Roberts.
It was John Roberts on the inside. They were too wide through the tunnel, and that's always a dangerous place to go too wide. And you just see how Roberts just washes out, and it's just as simple as a light tap. And I think Niskanen got away with it, a lot got away with it. And Hernando, there's not much you can do once you're up into that fence. And from there on in, it's a caution that comes out, and once more, it's some very, very quick back-to-back cautions. The third caution, and once more, art imitates life, and Kurt Crum again gets himself a third caution stint. Another 5 laps he can, or another 4 laps, sorry, he can book off and say, okay, I'm leading some more time.
I mean, really, it's the easiest way to lead. As the pace car is only, like maybe 40 laps down at this point. So, I mean, he's not doing that bad. If you want to talk about the pace car. But, no, I mean, for Fernando Enteli, I mean, it was good to see him go on the press there, because he hasn't really been doing that. And you know what? He really wants to get it, and I think I can understand why, because Kurt Krum, it's a bombshell car. Oh, Eric Mickey, that's a bombshell car. And that means that if those two get together, well, you might be in for some trouble there.
You may just be as well. Things look like they're going to stay out then for the moment. A couple of drivers going to come down onto the lane. One being Jan Bruni, the other Enrico Leonholt. Jared Morgan's going to come down in and get himself stopped as well. We're going to step aside though here on RaceSpotTV, because when we come back, we will have ourselves the final 50-ish laps of racing action here from Pocono Raceway here in Pennsylvania.
I want to leap over buildings, want to fly over the shores, faster than a lightning flash, rushing through the cool night air. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero.
The race is imitating itself a little bit. We had 3 cautions earlier on in the race, back to back to back. We've just hit the same cycle here, the 3rd caution back to back to back. And Kurt Krum once more was at the front of the field at the time the caution's happening. We have ourselves 52 to go when Krum crosses the line, lights are off on top of the pace car, as we are expecting to get ourselves back to some green flag running in just a little bit. I am #DoYouMind Jake Sperry, the observer of Sim Racing, joined of course with Mr. Cameron Walsh, and it has been a very interesting race. It's one which has changed leaders multiple times throughout this one. You don't really know who's going to be out there in the victory position until very, very late. And of course the championship between Harrod and Antley is at stake as well here as we look towards the finishing rounds of the majors. Pace car dives in though. Krum defends again. Green flag, let's go. Serpentine time as Mickey's got a stormer here, coordinating that run against this. And now Antley's got to think about how defensive do I need to go here to hold second position. Oh, they make contact through turn number 1. Mickey survives it. Oh my word, that could have so easily have been a 4th straight caution. And Mickey there almost had contact with the championship man in 2nd place.
Yeah, and that, if there was an incident there, that would have wadded up half the field. So good on them to keep it clean, as Antoli was able to pressure his way to push Eric Mickey up the track, and I don't think he intended to push him up as far as intentionally making contact. But hey, there you go. For Kurt Crum, these guys, you can start seeing the serpentine as we keep calling it off. I mean, it's you almost hear Archer in the background saying serpentine, Babu, serpentine. But yeah, it's just how wide this Pocono racetrack is. You don't scrub off your speed because you're able to just lean it left and right. And Kurt Crum, I mean, hats off to him. Every single one of these restarts, he is able to keep it to not have any pressure underneath, as he's got maybe a 3-4 car length over him and Antoli.
Toika had an incident on that opening corner as well. He made contact with Josh Wolf, and he has dropped probably about a half dozen positions as Diego Jimenez looks to attack Andreas Robertson, unable to go and make the move that he wants then, with now 50 laps to go at Pocono Raceway. One pit stop still required as Niskanen now tries to get past Diego Jimenez, and the two teammates look like they're going to battle. They've had a bit of bad blood earlier on, as that is also Sylvain Maillot, who's made his way through on Teemu Toika, but Toika fighting this one every stage of the way at the moment. Now it's time to just gather yourself up here, Cam, because it's about getting to the end first and foremost for points.
Yeah, I mean, 50 laps to go. That is a long time, and I have a feeling we're going to probably have a couple more cautions, but so it's hard. You want to move up the positions. You want to start doing that okay, this is the last stint, let's go. But we have at least one more green flag pit stop to go. Or alternatively, if there's a caution, everyone comes in, you know, everyone runs the tires, and there's another caution, I would gamble taking the tires as Sylvain Maillard pulls up in front of Teemu Toika, the 46 machine, as he washes out there, as Maillard almost, I don't think Toika was at risk, the TBR driver, of nipping him, but he certainly had to back out of it, Jake, as they worked their way through the tunnel turn corner number 2.
Well, hopefully that Bushwink will not fly any higher than he did have to at that point, so just keep an eye on it, because things could get a little bit dicey later on. Crum still with the advantage, and of course Kurt Crum shall need to come down onto the lane probably earlier than everybody else here, so Antoli probably primed as Niskanen makes his way to the inside of Diego Jimenez, and a lot of room being given, but Jimenez trying to pick a pocket, but he can't pick a pocket or two. He was stuck. It was well scouted by Marcus Niskanen as he now chases Andreas Robertson next. Little scrap though in front, because Fernando Antoli's had enough of waiting. He's made his way to the race lead, and he did it at the tunnel.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty surprising that he's able to close up there. I would say then Kurt Crum had some sort of an issue coming off the exit to corner number 1, and that is exactly what happened. Kurt Crum washed way out, and he was down almost 10 miles an hour going towards the tunnel turn. So yeah, that was easy pickings for Antoli. He was there when it counted. Now he's the leader, and he has got a massive gap between him and Kurt Crum. Kurt Crum, who is being pursued by his teammate Eric Mickey.
And Josh Wolf makes the move on Marco Pentonen. Pentonen thinking about getting it back at the tunnel turn as Pete Harrod tries to get in on the pair of them, going, come on, I need some positions. My title rival's leading this one. David H. Baker now trying to get past Kurt Crum as he's lost a position to Mickey. The tyres have gone off for Kurt Crum. He needs to get down on the lane if he's got anything to go, but he knows the longer he stays out, the more he will be put under pressure, the longer he's got to go. He's got to get to at least 30 laps to go if things stay green. He is in trouble at this stage, the Indy 500 winner. Here comes Harrod, though, down to the inside of Marco Pentonen, and crucially, another position, for now at least, is his, but Pentonen bites back on the high side, and they will stay too wide to the tunnel.
And that was with Pete Harrod intentionally going wider to force Marco Pentonen and maybe seeing if he would back out of the corner, but he did not. and so he ended up having a yield there. So great job from both of these drivers. Very aggressive, I would have to say. It didn't look crazy, but I assure you, in those cockpit seats, it absolutely was. And now perhaps Pettinen is going to be able to get the draft down on Joshua Wolf. You don't want to do that too much. You don't want to dance the dance too much, because Josh Wolf will get away, and that is not what you want to have happen here. Those are the first, those are the closest two cars in the front pack here. And I will say, I spy with my little eye the 791 machine of Marcus Pappenbrock. That turquoise and green machine is on the move. Finally, he has cleared himself into the top 10. He is going to be hoping that Pete Herod and Marco Pettinen continue to fight.
And he's got Niskanen just behind him as well, as he will be looking to try and charge away forward. So all of them thinking about how good can this run be. The gap at the front of this pack, though, at the front of the field is now down to 9/10 of a second. Eric Mickey is bringing this back to Fernando Antley, and that's not what Antley needs to be thinking about. He's abandoned his efforts at the Serpentine, and he knows just about enough. Toika under pressure, though, as the one lap down Hernando makes his way through down on the inside, and Diego Jimenez trying to think about Robertson. Niskanen thinking about Pappenbrock. Just small two-car battles that we are seeing here with just 43 laps to go when they cross the line.
Yeah, and for Fernando Antley, he doesn't seem to be having too much speed, as he's now on the exit of corner number 3 here, is compared to Eric Mickey. Maybe as the lap times come by, this time 43.4 versus a 43.3. So again, just a little tenth here, little tenth there in the way of Eric Mickey. And we have to remember here, Eric Mickey, as the stint goes on, he typically has the better car.
And we know David H. Baker has the best car in clean air, and he's bringing the gap down to both of them. 2/10 on Antley, 1/10 on Mickey. It's closing every single time. Harrod still fighting it out with Marco Pettinen, desperate for every position he can possibly get. But also Diego Jimenez versus Sylvain Maillot going out on circuit at the moment. This one for the final spots, 11th and 12th at this stage in terms of those maybe hoping something can happen late. Gap down 7/10 of a second now. Eric Mickey closing it 10th by 10th, and again a 10th for David H. Baker as well. They're going to be nose to tail at this race if they're not careful, Cam.
Yeah, most certainly, but the matter is what's going to happen when they do catch up to each other. Is that dirty air really going to come into effect here? As I can just see just how much Eric Mickey is able to close in through the tunnel turn, but then once they get to the tunnel turn, they end up having to kind of wash out because they don't have the air on that nose, because Fernando Antley is taking it away as the leader. So here we go one more time. It'll be 40 to go, and at some point these cars are going to have to come into pit lane. It's going to be up to these guys whether it's green or not.
40 to go next time by Fernando Antley, then holding himself half a second at the moment. David H. Baker, a 43.3, 43.7 for Fernando Antley. He's struggling now. He is starting to fall backwards, and that's not what he needs to be thinking about at this stage. He's got to think about preserving his championship, which he leads, well, he's second at the moment by 46 points, but right now with Pete Harrod in 7th, I think he'll be very happy with where he is at the moment, heading for the final few rounds of the season a little bit later on. Some good scraps as well at the back of the pack, but Fernando Antley now, that gap's 3/10 of a second. Mickey is coming for him, and look at that, right up to the rear through one, but held very nicely by Antley as he gets the power down.
Yeah, he got too close on the entry to one. Didn't have the air that he needed to get the downforce, to get the exit that he wanted, but at least we know he is there. And you know what? Just as I say that, David Baker is there as well. Is so good battling here for positions 1, 2, and 3. Rest of the field looks pretty straight and narrow. It seems to me that perhaps there's a battle between Gian Broni and Matthias Hubel. So keep an eye out on that just in the background, just in case there's a caution. We can kind of maybe see if it's something to do with those guys fighting back there. But yeah, this big 1, 2, 3 battle, I gotta say, Jake, it's finally come to a head with 38 to go.
38 across the line, so 39 laps remaining, and it's slow. It's slow from Antley, and here comes Mickey to pick up the scraps and take the lead. Now block David H. Baker, and he does. All of that down to washing far too wide, coming out of turn 1, and he just was starting to lose the rear end, was Antley. He brings it back, but now he's the cork in the bottle, and we've seen Mickey do well in open air. Here's David H. Baker, though, looking for the inside to try and make this one, and now we know David H. Baker's quicker. He's got to get past fast, and he does. He moves himself up into second position for now, and Mickey already out to an 8/10, nearly almost a full second's advantage.
Yeah, and what happened there is, Fernando, just as you said, almost lost the rear. He ended up having to do a full corner abort. I don't know if he stabbed the brake at all, but I do know that he got off, he downshifted, and he absolutely yanked the wheel, hoping that it would save him, and it did. So, I mean, A, that's great, but B, yeah, you did lose those 2 positions. I would have just conceded it earlier, just get the speed. Don't worry about it. Get yourself back up into positions and hopefully hunt down Eric Mickey, because we got to remember we've got that all-important pit stop coming up, and anything can happen. Mickey has slid through his pit stall. Has Kurt Crum? Has David Baker? Well, we'll have to find out. I mean, the final pit stop here, the pressure is going to be immense.
Matthias Hubel comes down in, but I think he's coming down hoping for a caution with 36 laps remaining as they next cross the line. So Matthias Hubel probably going to have to splash and dash this one if things stay green. At the moment, it's Mickey running away, looking for his 3rd oval win in 5 oval starts. That's just how good he has been. He's won both the NASCAR ovals, and Kurt Crum now hoping for a late caution, because he knows he's got to come in and make that stop. 35 to go. Oh, 36 to go even. He's pushing for a caution.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, we have not seen tanks dry, so we don't technically know how far these fuel tanks can go, but we can tell you that the tires give out before the fuel gives out. So Kurt Crum, he's getting fuel. He's getting his Firestone tires. He's getting ready to rock and roll. Kurt Crum is off and away without so much as spinning the tires, so very undramatic exit for Kurt Crum. But you know what, though? He has got a completely clear track around him, and that is what he is going to want to see is Eric Mickey. His teammate and the leader of the race right now is the one who is going to come out behind him, and I believe they might almost be near each other. You know what? Kurt Crum is going to be able to give a draft to Eric Mickey.
And that's going to be very, very crucial if Mickey can get up to him, but Kurt Crum has got a bit of a gap, so Mickey probably not going to feel the effects too much. It's just a little bit too far away for that, but everyone knows it's about he who blinks the latest when it comes to the fuel, the final calculation. Who needs to come down before anybody else at this stage? Don't count Josh Wolf out of this one either, Cam. He started 16th. He was all the way to the back of the field, and he's moved his way back up to 4th. It's been a stunning drive from Joshua Wolf so far here today. And can he go any further, find himself a podium? If not, maybe even a race victory if he can sneak one.
Yeah, most certainly, and there is the potential for that. Let's be real here. I mean, that is your front-running Grizzly driver, which I don't think is normally a Joshua Wolf sort of situation. I have to say, yeah, the second. Baker. Oh yes, because David Baker's there. So it's kind of one of those situations where you've got, so many teams up front. You got Eric Mickey, your leader, who's in Bombshell. And yes, you do have the Grizzly car of David Baker, excuse me. Then you've got the Obsidian car, another Grizzly. And then you've got Marco Pentinen with that, it's not Integra, it's whatever the heck they call themselves, the Finnish people. With that little blue fox, which one is that? It starts with an I.
Ooh, Inertia.
Inertia, yes, thank you. All right, I see Integra. I was close. They don't even have the name on that car. So anyways, then you got, Pete Herod, who's in it was in Team Mad. So, I mean, it really is interesting to see. A lot of these teams have multiple drivers, some even 4, maybe even 5. But it's interesting to note just how many teams are up here at the end.
There is, and of course, got to remember, Bombshell versus Grizzly is the big constructors battle at the moment, and we know that there's 2 now of Grizzly inside of the top 4, plus wherever Kurt Crum comes out in the mix, and he will have fresher tyres. He's running quicker lap times than Eric Mickey by 0.3 of a second a lap, and David H. Baker just took 0.2 out, brings the gap to 1.1, and is starting to close that gap down in more and more when it gets to this run, and we're not seeing any battles at all out on circuit. They're all running in line at the moment, just trying to just stay out of trouble with 32 laps to go at the moment in this race. They know better than anybody else. Stay clean now, a caution late. If you're the one who causes it, you're out of the running, no matter what happens.
Yeah, absolutely, and here we go. David Baker, the 33 machine, comes into pit lane. He does not take any risks on the entry. That may cost him in the later run, but you know what? I will have to say, after there was the speeding penalty earlier on for, I believe it was Niskanen, I would agree. As David Baker brings his machine down into the pit stall one final time, he gets on the brakes, he slides. Oh, that's so very close to the front line, but they are going to give him service. He is going to be out and away as the fuel, we're just waiting on the fuel pylon. There he goes, as David Baker, the number 33 machine, that was your second place car. He is off and away.
Full tank of fuel as David H. Baker may have just forced the hand of everybody else. Leader dives down in. He needs to dive down in, cover off the move. Antley stays out, as does not Josh Wolf, I believe. Actually, no, Josh Wolf does stay out, so only Eric Mickey comes in. He needed to cover the move of David H. Baker, and he will do so now. Timu Choika dives down onto the lane. Where is David H. Baker? Making his way towards turn number 3 right now, rounding himself at 340 kilometers an hour, desperately trying to pick the power up early, and he does so very, very well. Out and away will come Eric Mickey, and it will be a drag race here to turn number 1. Mickey with the disadvantage. David H. Baker on the outside, going around the outside, stealing the position for the net race lead.
Great decision from David Baker to come in. He came in basically completely by himself. He was able to get the pit, and when he pulled out in front of Kurt Crum, I went, Eric Mickey was quite a ways behind Kurt Crum. I'm going to be surprised if Eric Mickey's able to make that up, and he did just that. Not only is David Baker ahead of Kurt Crum, he's ahead of him by quite a bit, so great maneuvering from David Baker, and I'm sure pit lane's going to get very busy now. Marco Pettinen is there on pit lane. He is now going to be pulling out in that number 9 position, but David Baker is blowing right by him.
He is blowing right by, but of course there are some who are getting the full tank of fuel, others who will look to try and get as quick a stop as possible to get through. The likes of Wolf or Antley looking for just a very quick stop to get out and away again with some decisions. Pete Harrod decides he can't go any further with 29 laps to go. He jumps down onto pit road, and he will now look to sacrifice position to gain it back. We've seen Pentinen get on the lane, the inertia sim racing car. Still got Pappenbrock under pressure though from Marcus Niskanen. Niskanen not out of this race, still trying everything in the 002, picked up by Bombshell, and now Pappenbrock has to play the defensive game here and think, okay, when does he have to pit? When do I have to pit?
Yeah, and Pete Harrod is now pulling out of pit lane right now. Pentinen will go around Pete Harrod, so Harrod has now lost a lot. I think anyone coming into pit lane right now has lost a significant amount of position. Fernando Antley, I'd be surprised if he stays top 5.
Well, we will see if he can get himself going. He had some strong running at the start of this stint, and he hits his box, and he is nice and fine. He should lose out, though, in terms of time now, but he'll have the quick tyres to come back with Niskanen comes down in onto the lane as well. Out comes Fernando Antley, but here comes those he's challenging. David H. Baker, Eric Mickey, both break past, and here's Kurt Crum breaking past, but Crum is marginal on the fuel and needs a caution. Pentinen is behind, so there in 4th is Fernando Antley, crucial for Pete Harrod.
Yeah, and I think these guys had to be a lot more reactionary once they saw that first car come into pit lane. Not Kurt Crum, but once we saw David Baker pull in, I would have immediately committed to going into pit lane, because you can just see the gap. Fernando Antley will have Kurt Crum to help, but look at the distances now that we have. Jaron Morgan, one of the other Grizzly pilots, is on pit lane. as basically I think all of the running cars, as it were, is coming to pit. Here comes Joshua Wolf, and this is going to be the problem here. Watch how far the Grizzly driver will fall here, because already the leaders are basically, coming right off of 2.
Yep, they are, and Josh Wolf knows it, and he's going to drop back, but he'll have the freshest tyres of the lot. He will have the ability to attack as much as possible. He's in his box, and he's in his box good. So here will come through the likes of Mickey, the likes of David H. Baker, his teammate who leads this one. Out and away he goes, but it's going to have to be a long and slow slog to get back up to speed. But crucially, there goes Antley going through. Is he out ahead of Kurt Crum? Answer's no, so he's in 5th, but it's pretty much net 4th unless a caution comes here, Cam.
Yeah, most certainly, unless I don't think the tires are going to be that magic, to be honest. Let's see here. The difference is going to be, as I pull up my thing, as the rest of the field comes in, Poppin, Brock, Robertson, and Hormilia are all going to be coming into the pit lane. That means David Baker is going to be your leader. David Baker has got 7 laps on his tires. Eric Mickey has got 6. Then we'll have Fernando Antoli with 3, and then you're going to have Joshua Wolf with 1. So that right there will tell you everything. Kurt Crum has got 12 laps on his tires, and Joshua Wolf, that is, to me, just enough time to allow the Wolf's tires to be a little bit more fresher. He gets the inside line.
He does, and he gets himself up to 4th, crucially past Crum early, and that, for the team's battle, gives an advantage back to Grizzly, as it's now not 2nd and 4th, but 2nd and 5th, and 1st and 4th. So now you start thinking, okay, it's starting to run out then for Bombshell. They may start losing here to Grizzly as cars like Henri Breitscorn gets out of pit road, and that's pretty much everybody said and done. Now we are heading for home. 23 laps remain here at Pocono, and it's all down to David H. Baker trying everything to hold on. One driver yet to come down onto the lane, though, is the gentleman John Roberts, and he should pit incredibly late in this one. But a caution now. Here's the next question. A caution now. Tires? Fuel? What do you go for?
If I have over 15 laps on my tires, I absolutely would come in and get tires unless everybody else does not come and get tires. So it's impossible if you're up front to decide. If you come in and take tires, everyone else is going to say, ha, and leave you in the dirt, because we've seen from Kurt Crum and David Baker, you can make older tires work, no problem, especially if you get caution after caution. The problem is going to be, do you have enough time for your tires to allow you to catch and pass people when it's so difficult to catch and pass people here at Pocono?
Well, the gap is a 2.5 seconds between Mickey and Baker, with the 1 lap difference in tyres. For Fernando Antoli, he is a further 2.7 seconds back. For Josh Wolf, he's only 1.2 back of Antoli with 2 laps fresher tyres than the Spaniard, who is 2nd in the championship. The game of chase continues then here at Pocono, and 20 to go will happen in 1 lap's time. Eric Mickey, he's looking for his 3rd oval win of the year. For David H. Baker, he is looking for his 1st win of the year. Antley looking for championship consolidation. Josh Wolf for the drive of the day. And let's not count out gentleman John Roberts at the front, but he should be sacrificing that race lead very, very soon to come down onto pit road. He stays out for now, but he'll probably be going to the tanks dry, splash and dash.
Yeah, I done the math here, which you're all going to have to bear with me. Hugo just held his breath. Okay, I have done the math. So, on his current stint, John Roberts has done 33 laps. Now, that's not to say 33 green flag laps is, yes, the rear almost just, we almost didn't have to do math with Cameron because John almost cleaned the outside wall. So, I would say that he's got maybe another lap at best, maybe 2. A pit stop for everyone else is about 35 seconds. He's going to need 10 less laps of fuel. So he should be able to come in as, yep, here he comes. He's going to get his tires. I imagine his pit stop is going to be about 5 seconds. If it's anything less than 5 seconds, he's going to be in trouble, because that means he's going to come out with about 30 seconds, and that should place him around 14th in the race.
That should be what we see. So David H. Baker now 1.8 seconds in the lead, and not the best stop in the world. Pete Harrod, though, championship implications as he goes down to the inside of Marco Penttinen for 7th place, and the limitation of damage is still trying to be done, but again, unable to pick it up. Coming off of the exit, and now Penttinen using the draft of the slowing Kurt Crum in front, able to get the move sorted again. So Harrod now starting to find himself with a bit of a rolling roadblock in front, and he knows he's hurting.
Yeah, absolutely. Harrod's going to definitely want to start being more aggressive, and you got to tip your cap to John Roberts there. He came out in front of Enrico Leonhardt, who's going to be in 16th position when this all gets said and done. But I mean, you got to say, you know, you got to take that IndyCar's try. You got to give it the whole shout as they are going side by side. Still, Pete Harrod and Marco Penttinen. Harrod should be able to, if he cuts him off, which he's going to, he should have it, because they're now going their way towards the tunnel turn, so it should be fairly easy.
Well, there we go. There's the move. Next up for Pete Harrod is Kurt Crum, and that's just to put one car between himself and Antley, and that one will be so vital in the long run. For David H. Baker, though, that gap, it's not moving at all. 5 thousandths to Eric Mickey, though, as he looks to try and close it down more and more, and almost into the wall himself. So Mickey pushing maybe a little bit too hard here, as your front four desperately trying to inch by inch, yard by yard, get past everyone else. Kurt Crum's going defensive behind for 5th. Here's Harrod on the outside, heading to tunnel turn, and looking for the chance as he passes all the trees. Down, looking for pinching the pocket. Not quite close enough, but here's the pinch. There's the pocket. There's the move that puts him up to 5th for now.
Yeah, and I have to say, for Pete Harrod, he's good. He should be able to keep this position right now, as they're going to go down the long front stretch here. So maybe Kurt Crum is going to have the attack on the outside. No, he's going to decide to go to the inside. Okay, I thought Crum was going to be forced to stay on the outside, but Pete Harrod let him go on that inside. Perhaps he wasn't expecting to drive all the way to the inside. Or alternatively, Harrod was thinking he was going to get the over-under, which he's at least tried to do, and he is at least alongside, so the bombshell machine on the outside of Kurt Crum should have to yield going into corner number 2, but I think, okay, if Crum backed out a little early, I think he could have had a bit more overspeed going into 3. Not going to matter, he's going to have the inside line anyways. Great battle for 5th position, not what Pete Harrod wants to get involved with.
No, not at all. And looking to make that push, and runs wide and does well. Josh Wolf, though, pulls the gap down to 0.8 of a second in front between himself and Fernando Antley, but both need a miracle to close down Mickey and Baker, who are trading lap time for lap time at this stage, with Baker oh so marginally quicker right now. As things look, Kurt Crum will start losing time to Marco Penttinen. Where has it gone wrong for Bombshell? They looked fantastic. They had 3 inside the top 4 at one stage. Now they're thinking maybe only 1 inside the top 8. That's not going to be what they want. So for here, I think Grizzly have just walked out and pretty much stolen all constructors' hopes at this stage.
Well, we have to remember what's on the schedule. We have got the Knoxville Nationals. That is dirt racing. That is not just dirt racing. That is 410 wing sprint car dirt racing. That'll open up the nostrils there like some spicy food. That is going to be I don't want to say a crapshoot, but it is going to be a chaotic event here with a bunch of European drivers, or Pacific drivers if you're the Grizzly guys, on a dirt race. Grizzly, they should be more at home here on dirt racing, but you never know. A lot of these Europeans could actually be very quick in dirt racing. Then we go to Suzuka for a Grand Prix race. And of course, I mean, that's a European natural habitat.
It is.
As Antley has hit the wall.
Wow! Fernando Antley is in the wall.
He's done suspension.
Through green. Suspension is hurt. championship could have just gone up in smoke at that moment, and he's done so well to keep it going, but he's got to bring it home. Pete Harrod will see Anthony slow, and he will smile as he knows his championship lead will now extend as things go. We are green for the moment. Oh my goodness me. Fernando Anthony, the man who has been the most careful of everybody in this field, has found the wall with just 13 laps to go at Pocono Camp.
I would have absolutely beamed it. To be completely honest, if that was me, I would have totally beamed it and brought out the caution and wrecked the car and did my car fix. But you know what? Fernando Anthony is a better person than I am because he managed to corral that car. He has kept it off the wall. And I gotta say, a Herculean effort to drive around this 2.5-mile oval with broken suspension. Absolutely wonderful job from Fernando Anthony. He's going to drop back to 15th. That's going to be a massive dent in not only his point haul, but also for the Obsidian Motorsport crew. So Fernando will get into his pit stall, and that's that.
And lap traffic will come in as RaceSpot Cat gets a little bit antsy, seeing that there is 11 laps to go at Pocono. And for the moment, Eric Mickey has got the gap down to 1.6, but it's got to come down to at least a second if he wants a shot at doing it. Mickey, the master of the second half of a stint, bringing it back. This is where his setup needs to come into play. He's given Baker the advantage, but the Baker is hoping that with just under a baker's dozen's lap to go, he's got to hold on and run it out of Pennsylvania with the victory. Almost 3 hours we have gone here at Pocono, and it comes down to can you hold on with just 10 laps to go.
The gap is there. I am going to say that David Baker, unless he washes out, which we have seen is so easy to do, that I can say with a level of certainty that if David Baker is going to keep his run clean, Eric Mickey is not going to be able to catch him. Even if he was able to catch a tenth a lap, it's not going to matter. He is going to need a mistake from David Baker or for a lapped car to get in the way. Henry Briascorn is there, and he is running well off the pace, I'd have to say, maybe a couple of mile-an-hour down for that 8:37, so actually not as off a pace as I thought he was going to be, but he could come in effect here.
He could gap 1.5, and it's closing, but not enough. 9 laps to go, and now Eric Mickey, you've got to do more. It's 3 seconds back to Josh Wolf. Don't worry about him. Now you've just got to push. You've got an outside shot at the championship, but at the moment that means nothing. You're just going for the victory. David H. Baker is holding on enough. A caution though, Cam, with 5 to go, ends the race. There is no caution on the last lap though, because we will go green to the end if we see the white flag.
Yes, most certainly, and so it is going to come down to the wire as Henry Briascorn just napped the outside wall on the exit to 3. That's going to allow David Baker to close in a little bit more, so he's actually going to get the draft now. That's going to allow him to close on in, and I won't believe Eric Mickey has David's draft, so that could certainly be the moment as Josh Wolf, he is well far back. Where is there going to be some fighting for the final positions? Kurt Crum and Timu Toika are there, as well as Marcus Pappenbrack and Marcus Niskanen and Marcus Pappenbrack. So good battling at least from 6th on back, but it seems to me that unless something happens, Jake, this is going to be our finishing order.
It could be the finishing order, but it's late in the day, and drivers now are just starting to feel it. Toika trying to get past Crum. There are Constructors' Championship points on offer. He's got to go and get the move done. For the moment, no, but the draft has brought the gap back out to 1.5 seconds. Not ideal, but Mickey is going to get the slingshot very, very soon as things look, but it's looking more and more desperate. It will be 6 to go at the line, and Toika looking to try and make the move for 6th place, still not able, but of course Niskanen's coming along as well for the party.
And Briascorn has been passed by Baker, now giving the draft to Eric Mickey, so perhaps Mickey is going to be able to slingshot around Briascorn. As, sometimes you think the draft can go one way, the draft can go another. Well, sometimes it can go both ways. As we click off lap 192 and start lap 193. You think?
It is. Look, that's a second gone on that last lap. Eric Mickey, It's gone. All that pace, it's gone. Unless there is a caution now, this is over, really, in reality, unless something happens to David H. Baker, because Eric Mickey has just hit the wall trying to get past Bryce-Scorn. He does now, but David H. Baker, all of a sudden, has himself the buffer that he is happy to see here, Cam.
And we have to remember, this all started back on lap, 45, when that first of the 3 cautions came out and both David Baker and Kurt Crum stayed out. I'm not sure if I like that, but you know what? 15 laps on the tires shouldn't be too bad. And you know what? After those 3 cautions in a row, a couple of green flag laps, he was able to come in the pits when everyone else did, get back on cycle, and now look, David Baker is set to win the Pocono 500.
It seems at the moment that Kurt Crum, keep an eye on Kurt Crum because he's dropping down the order. The splash and dash, the caution never came. So he's got to hit the lane and that promotes everybody else. Niskanen now up into 7th position with Papenbrock trying to close down for 8th. With constructors on the line as well. And Poetic Justice as well here, Cam, as guess who Pete Harrod can see in front of him, 1 lap down. Oh yes, it is Fernando Antoli in 16th position.
Yeah, that was a massive risk for Pete Harrod there. On just straight pace, it wasn't in the cards for Pete Harrod today, but you know what? One simple mistake is all it took. And now Fernando Antoli is going to have to go to Knoxville on the dirt and try to match everyone else in a form of racing that is very unique to pretty much the continental United States of America. And we'll have to see how that fight goes. And who knows? Perhaps Fernando Antoli is going to be one of the fastest dirt drivers I'll ever see. Who knows? I certainly don't. And I can tell you, I'm be interested to see how those Finnish boys do on the dirt surface.
Josh Wolf has also lost a lot of pace. His tyres have hit the cliff, 45.3 his last lap as he has struggled, and this is allowing Pete Harrod in because that gap has come down to just 2 seconds. I wonder now if it's a fuel save moment for Josh Wolf here. This could cost, and this could just add extra points to Pete Harrod if he gets caught before the end of this one. 2 laps to go. Popsicle sticks for David H. Baker.
And David is breathing the throttle on corner exit. He's on lap 29 of this stint, and he has had to charge hard up until about 3 laps to go. So he should, in theory, have the fuel. He did not have a caution. So who knows? They were saying maybe 30 laps. Joshua Wolf, he doesn't have the fuel. He's into pit lane, so he's going to lose all those positions. Now people are starting to fall by the wayside as he only was in for a 23-lap stint. And Jake, high drama here, and it's totally not unexpected because this is IndyCar and this is how it always unfolds.
Well, if Grizzly's got the numbers wrong, then David Baker could be in trouble. Mickey needs to push because he does not know if Baker is going to be safe. And he's almost in the wall with the white flag coming at Pocono Raceway. David H. Baker trying to run it. Reykjavik is not safe. The gap is still extending though, which is very crucial. The final lap for David H. Baker, it seems for the moment is safe. Leonhardt and Wolf though are together on the road. Pete Harrod now moves up to 3rd position to further dampen things for Fernando Antoli. But for the moment, heading through 2, car slow up top without fuel is Matthias Schubel. He'll get around that with no problems. 1 corner to go. Please do not J.R. Hildebrand. Not at this stage, David H. Baker. What a drive it has been for him as he has held on, held his nerve, and he has held himself running for the border. David H. Baker wins at Pocono. Mickey will come home 2nd, and it will be Pete Harrod who will take a massive 3rd place to extend his championship lead heading to Knoxville.
And that was a massive miscalculation on Josh Wolf's part. Only 22 laps in that stint, yet he was only in his pit box for 1 second less than everyone else that had taken a full run of fuel. So very unfortunate for him, unless something else happened to his car I didn't see. But either way, great racing, and you know what? We got a lot of that last end of that race done clean. I think our last caution was on lap 148. So great running here at Pocono to finish out the Pocono 500.
A 53-lap final stint, which David H. Baker will smile upon as he has outmaneuvered everybody else. Classified results then up on your screen. This is how everything finishes. David H. Baker picks up the win, 3.3 seconds in the end over Eric Mickey. And boy, did he have to work for that one. Pete Harrod extends his championship lead with a third place finish. Marco Penttinen coming home in fourth, with Teemu Toika rounding out the top five. Marcus Niskanen would bring it home in sixth ahead of Marcus Pappenbrock. Andreas Robertson with a great drive to eighth place, with Diego Jimenez in ninth. And Sylvain Maillot rounding out the top 10. On his 50th start, Jared Morgan in Pacific Majors gets himself to 11th here in the European split, with Jan Brony finishing 12th. Josh Wolf splash and dash, only 13th, with Enrico Leonhardt, the last of the drivers on the leading lap. Kurt Crum had to splash and dash. Antley hit the wall with just 13 laps to go. Unlucky for some, unlucky for Antley. Then you got more drivers a lap down. John Roberts, Sergio Hernando, the likes of Henri Brycecorn, 2 laps down. Andre Rajkovic, 3 laps down. Matthias Hubel, 7 laps down. And those that failed to finish, Jordi Ardide, Frank Oosterhuis, Andres Silsans, Dave Walsh, who led for the majority of this race, Patrick Nice, Alexander Kirstenov, Cordell Cologne, Stuart Atkinson, and Travis Henderson as well. We're going to step aside here on RaceSpotTV, the post-race show, coming to you after this.
It's happening again. Extra Life, the 24-hour gaming marathon where gamers across the world raise money for our local Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It feels good to do something we love to help kids, but it feels great to get closer through the magic of game. We enter as friends and leave as real-world heroes for sick kids everywhere. Sign up online. Extra Life. Play games. Heal kids.
Yeah. After a long slog, after 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 50 seconds, it came down to the final few laps and how you could hold your nerve. And the nerve was held by David H. Baker as he picked up a big win for Grizzly right when they needed it the most at Pocono Raceway. The post-race show here on iRacing Live, and I am hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing, joined with Cameron Walsh. But for the moment at least, we are going to get ourselves driver interviews. We're going to first bring into the conversation Joshua Wolf here, who ultimately did not have the finish that he would have wanted. Josh almost one lap down. It's 13th in the end, but a lot less of fuel than everyone else.
Yeah, I cut it way too short. I actually put more fuel in the car than I thought I would need, and ended up being still not enough. So I guess once Fernando kind of got in the wall in front of me, I started burning more fuel than what I was expecting.
Well, you burnt more fuel than you were expecting, but for your team, it was a massive, massive result for you because, of course, your teammate David picks up a big, big win in terms of your Constructors' Challenge. Just what is the momentum now for Grizzly, especially when you're talking about what's coming up forward with the Knoxville Nationals?
Oh, I'm excited. Definitely congrats to David getting the first win for us. Been great working with him. I actually ended up using his setup. It was kind of a last minute thing, and he built a great setup. It was really fast, and I was so glad to be able to see him run it up front and ended up winning it.
And of course, everyone excited, but more importantly, that race going on for the finals, the charity finals in December. The race of that Mario Andretti Cup is getting a lot tighter. And do you feel over these last 5 rounds of the season, do you feel things are going to get that little bit more tense?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about the last 5 rounds. Kind of look at our performance in the LMP1 car. I think the F1 car could be quite similar, and that might be a pretty surprising result there. But also some of the road races coming up, or the oval races coming up. I think we'll have a pretty good shot with those races.
Well, a good shout indeed. Shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Just everybody in Grizzly. Definitely been a little change here recently with my work and just everybody kind of sticking together to work and create some great setups. And we definitely learned from Indy and built some great setups for this week.
Well, you got some great setups working. Joshua Wolf then for Grizzly Motorsports there joining us. Cam, you're standing by with the man who finished in 2nd position, and that is Eric Mickey.
Yes, hashtag raw speed and blazing on the side of the car that finished in 2nd place. It's Eric Mickey. Eric, you did seem to have good pace. You were constantly in the battles, but boy, it is just so tough. When you're that 2nd place car, you were there a couple of times in the 2nd place running position. You were there leading a couple of those laps, but just take me through your run here at Pocono Raceway.
Oh yeah, our car didn't have anything in the draft up behind other cars. We got to about a second behind the guy ahead of us, and none of our cars would really want to do much. And I saw a few cars out there that worked a lot better in that scenario. So at that point, it was doing all we could to maintain track position and be on the right fuel strategy at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, the pit stops were so crucial. A couple of times there were a lot of drivers sliding through. Just how difficult is it to go between tiptoeing into pit lane and having a really slow stop towards perhaps sliding through your box and having to put it in reverse?
Yeah, it's a fine line because I was weak on pit road today, and that probably cost me a lot of time. Definitely cost me the lead there at the end, and that was just because I knew that I didn't want to get a speeding penalty. I didn't want to overshoot my box. The one time I tried to get aggressive, I did overshoot my box, and then Kurt had a speeding penalty at one point, and that really messed up his chances. So it was just, you got to play that game of how much you want to push it, and I was on the little conservative side and got beat there for it.
Now, for the last question, if you close your IR-18's mouth, do you think it would have went a little faster in the draft?
I don't know. I'll have to take that up with with my brother who makes the schemes. That was yeah. We meant to put hashtag it's a crocodile on it because last time you guys were calling it a shark, and he was in the comment booth just like saying it's a crocodile.
Well, if they closed the crocodile mouth. See, it would have gone faster. No, it would have been faster if it was a shark. All right. I do love the paint schemes, by the way. So, all right. The floor is yours. Anyone you'd like to thank, give a thanks to before we let you go?
Yeah, of course. I want to thank everyone who runs the Major Series, Mike, for everything that he does, all the sponsors that come on and help us run these events all year long. I got to thank Kinetic. They, ever since we started working with them back at Le Mans, they've really been able to help us up our game here for the last half of the season and helping us close in on that team championship. Got to thank Kurt for doing a lot of the legwork on the setup with the Kinetic guys, and of course my brother for the paint schemes, and you guys for coming out and calling these races.
Well, it's our pleasure, and we'll see you in Knoxville. I have a feeling you're going to be pretty comfortable, probably strapping into one of those 410 wing sprint cars here at in the European split.
Oh, yeah. I'll get back to you on that.
Oh, all right. Maybe not. I don't know. So, all right. Well, either way, Eric, thanks so much, and we'll see you in September.
All right. Thanks, guys.
And with that, that is your second place car finishing. After starting in second, finished in second. Jake, I mean, what that really means is that basically nothing of note happened. Now, we'll go to, and I don't know if we want to do this. Do we want to bring totally Pete Herod into the channel and see if that is totally, in fact, Pete Herod?
It's totally not Pete Herod. I know already it's totally not Pete Herod because we do have Maciej Sakovic joining us from Team Mad. Maciej, for Pete today, P3, a big P3 as well for him because seeing with 13 laps to go, Fernando Antley fall by the wayside and fall a lap down, is that the turning point in the season that says, we've confirmed a top 3 place now, we will be going to be fighting for the Mario Andretti Cup?
There's still a long way to go in the season, so I'm not going to say that we've confirmed that we're top 3 just yet. But today was definitely a good day. We pulled away from all the main contenders for the Mario Andretti Cup. We got lucky a bit with Fernando, but it sucks for him. It definitely sucks, but we made it the 200 laps. He made the 200 laps, which is what we needed from him today. He got us the points, and it was a good laugh. So well done to Pete.
Well done to Pete indeed. But you're looking forward now. You got Knoxville on the dirt, which is sometimes something that the British fans go, well, why does iRacing even need dirt? That doesn't suit our needs. But really, something about dirt, that one dirt round, it sticks out like a sore thumb in the calendar. Is that a must-get result for you, or is that a damage limitation round for Pete Herod?
Currently, we're not really sure. Pete's quite adaptable, so we hope that he'll be able to go quite well on dirt. But saying that, none of us have a lot of experience setup-wise, racing-wise on dirt. So it will be kind of a venture into the unknown, and we'll have to see how we come out of that one. I expect there to be quite a lot of carnage because in the European split, I doubt many people will have done that before, and their driving standards might be a bit interesting. So I think it will be a race of attrition. We'll have to keep our head down, keep it cool.
Or races of attrition, because heading back to round 3, this will only be the second time this year that we will have split heat races.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, in that case, first of all, we should probably read what we're actually going to be entering, and 2, we'll just have to wait and see.
We will have to wait and see, indeed. Before we let you go, Maciej, any shout-outs or sponsors to give on behalf of your totally talented driver, Pete Herod?
Yes, we'd like to thank our glorious leader, Dave Crozier, for setting up the team and organising us in a way that we actually help each other and get these results. Thank you to Pete. Well, if I'm thinking on behalf of Pete, then yes, still, thank you, Pete. Thank you to everyone in our team. Thank you to the organisers of majors, and thank you to you guys for commentating today. It's been a pleasure listening to the broadcast in the background while spotting for Pete.
No worries at all. Maciej Sakovic, the glamorous assistant to Pete Herod there, joining us after he finished in third. Cam, very briefly, you've got a man with 50 starts under his belt and not quite the day he was looking for.
Well, or maybe it was. We don't know. Jared Morgan here on the in the broadcast booth with us here started 18th, finished in the 11th position. The driver whom I totally didn't actually realize he was in the race until about halfway through. Whoopsie doodle, my bad. But you know what? That was because I was doing the shout out because he's gotten 50 straight starts. And Jared, I mean, that's a pretty massive commitment. I mean, that's basically 50 different types of vehicles, 50 different, an absolute challenge, I have to say. What's it been like for you over these last 50 starts?
Oh, where do I begin, Cam? Roller coaster. I've driven everything that the majors have thrown at us since Bathurst 2014, and I haven't missed a day since. I'm only the second driver, as far as I'm aware, to have made 50 straight. Brian Barnes being the other one. So both of us from Southern Oregon. Who's next?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, does that mean that there are not things to do in Southern Oregon?
No.
Okay, I jest. So, all right, well, we just wanted to get you in here, and we wanted to congratulate you. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure, obviously, doing this season. That's about as I've been following it. We got Knoxville on the agenda, some, Formula One car, and then we got some another Bathurst, and then we got Homestead. So hopefully we'll see you, and we'll make it 54 straight to end out the year for you.
That's the plan, and we'll hopefully complete all of them next year, too.
Well, there you go. And Jared, of course, the floor is going to be yours. I know you've got some special sponsors on that, different from the normal Grizzly scheme, so give you the floor, and who'd you like to thank?
I got to thank Mike with the majors, setting us all up, giving us all the opportunity to run. My sponsors, Kelly with Pink Sea Illustrations, Amber with Minnie's Art Commissions, and Donovan Johns, if you remember that old name, from Lion Tamer Beard Care.
Oh, there you go. So that is going to be that. Jared, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Good running. Even though you weren't able to crack the top 10 this time by, it's an absolute achievement to make 50 starts in a row. So congratulations, and we'll keep notching those belts.
Thank you, Cam. Have a good day, fellas.
And Jake, well, just to round it all out with you, I got to say, 200 laps at Pocono, I was really concerned we were going to start getting that World 600 curse. We were just going to get caution after caution after caution. But you know what? 53 green flag laps and a green flag pit stop to the end. I mean, that is just wonderful. I thought we had good racing. And just goes to show you how realistic the iRacing platform is when it basically echoes the exact same challenges that the drivers were having in their IR18s last week.
Exactly, and you cannot ask for anything more. 4 rounds remain of European majors, Knoxville Nationals, the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, the Bathurst 500, just a half Bathurst as it were, and of course the Myrtle Beach 400, which rounds out the season before December 1st rolls around and the challenge, the top 3 fight for that big old trophy, the Mario Andretti Cup. But for the time being, that's all we've got here on RaceSpotTV. So our thank yous go to And Designs, the official graphics partners here at RaceSpotTV, along with ATVO and Apgineer, the official graphics engine at RaceSpotTV. Our live timing and scoring is brought to you by Nick Disson, with animations by Simon Grossman. And our TrapCams 22, of course, is our live cameras, brought to you by Istvan Ballo. Make sure you check those out. Right now, this very second, if you've not gone to already, McLaren Shadow Round 4 going on from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Join it, watch it, it's going to be great. Do you want to be a part of McLaren's esports team? Well, the only way you can find out is by being on there. But for the time being, that's Cam Walsh, Hugo Luis there on cameras. I'm hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of sim racing. It may be David Baker's. You may be happy for Grizzly's first win. It secures Constructors' security for now. Knoxville, though, awaits. And for Pete Harrod, the turning point of the season arises as he saw with 13 to go his nearest rival fall by the wayside. Knoxville promises to be an absolute treat, and that is just in 2 weeks' time. See you then.